What's up, everybody? What's up? Go ahead and get on up in here. Hey, I apologize for that tardiness, man. I just got back from the gym and I didn't really work out the way I wanted to, and I had to rush to get back. Yes, I am going live really early. I typically go live later today. So many people may not be able to join this, and that's all right. We're going to do something a little bit different today. Candace Owens, for those of you that hadn't heard, went live on Twitter or X yesterday, and I was pretty animated while listening to it because I wanted to chime in so bad, but I don't know Candace personally, but I really wanted to give my 2 cents because it was kind of infuriating listening to that conversation, but you have to give credit where it's due. And what I mean by that is, imagine this, just consider something. Candace Owens has been called crazy and all these other things. She's lost her mind. And you got people like Josh Hammer, the one and only Josh Hammer, calling for the return of submitting people involuntarily into, asylums and things of that sort. And he says that Candace Owens should be involuntarily submitted into a mental health institution. Wow. Very similar to how he called for the return of public execution the day before and the morning of September 10th when everything happened with Charlie. Very interesting. Well, anyways, you give credit where it's due. Candace Owens has this ability where, imagine, I lost my train of thought. Imagine people calling you crazy and all these different things, which we all know is ludicrous. Nothing's wrong with the woman. But imagine that they're saying these things about you, yet you're conscious enough, you're competent enough, and you're coherent enough to host a face-to-face live on Twitter Space or X Space, and you voluntarily choose on your own to invite the people that are criticizing you most or giving you the most pushback. You give them the opportunity and the ability on this Twitter Space to not just listen, which what the rest of us, thousands upon tens of thousands of people that joined this Twitter Space, you gave them the ability to speak. They were speakers on this Twitter Space. People like Harrison Smith from InfoWars, InfoWars, that's ran by the person's name we can't say on YouTube without YouTube acting weird. So his name is Alex. That's his first name. Last name is Jones. We're just going to call him AJ for the remainder of this video. And people like Harrison Smith, the same Harrison Smith who put out a tweet just weeks before everything happened with Charlie Kirk, stating that someone told him that Charlie Kirk fears that if he turns on that one foreign nation, the one foreign nation, by the way, that Donald Trump just announced either earlier today or yesterday with the return of Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu, they just announced that they're going to bomb Iran again if they continue with their not even their nuclear, with their, I think their missile program or something that they're doing, or something that they're allegedly doing. This same Harrison Smith has been giving more criticism to the other people's investigation about what happened to Charlie than focusing on the fact that he has more intel than we do, which is very suspicious. But we're going to get into that because he joined the live, and Candace Owens spoke about YouTubers like what's his name, the guy from, okay, now it's leaving me, the guy who interviewed Mitch's son. Let me go to the chat. What's his name? What's the guy that interviewed Mitch's son and it backfired on him? Gary from what's the name of his program? Gary from shoot. I've been seeing it. Paramount. Thank you. Paramount Tactical. Yes. So she spoke on him. She revealed some stuff that apparently Gary from Paramount Tactical and Nate from Valhalla VFT, who I made an entire video on, some stuff that they were saying behind the scenes, just it just further proves my point that some of these people are not who we think they are. They'll take certain positions because it's lucrative or because it's beneficial or it makes them look good or appear a certain way, and then they're going to flip. Right? So let me just say this. We're going to immediately jump into the clip because this live is going to be a bit different. I'm actually very excited. This is going to be like an hour and a half video clip that we're going to react to from Candace Owens, and she's going to have other people to join, and we're just going to pretend like we're going to go back in time. We're going to pretend like we're there in real time, and we're just going to chime in together collectively. We're going to give our feedback, and we're going to interject in the conversation as if we're there, right? I've always wanted to do this. I typically just react and I clip it up. I don't want to do that this time. I want to take my time with this, be surgical with it, because there was a lot of things in. Like I said, you give credit to Candace because she didn't have to do this. She's so crazy and spewing nonsense that she's willing to go on X because she's on vacation when it comes to YouTube because of her team is on vacation. So she's giving people that disagree with her, all of them, the opportunity to join her platform and have access to millions of people to speak about why it is that they disagree with Candace. And some people will not have as much patience as Candace had with some of these people. So you give credit where it's due. As always, link is in the description to the merch, right? I want to state for those of you that are new to the channel, I highly encourage you to check out my other projects, my other bodies of work, my other documentaries that have absolutely nothing to do with Charlie Kirk, that have absolutely nothing to do with TPUSA, Donald Trump, Candace Owens. I have other bodies of work on this channel. The reason why I'm going live so early today is because I am working on a video that I plan to have out by later today, believe it or not, covering the Anthony Joshua fatal car accident that happened in Nigeria. You know, Anthony Joshua, the professional boxer who just so happened to be involved. He just got finished with the boxing match against the one and only, why are these names slipping my freaking mind today? Oh my gosh, what is wrong with my mind right now? Let's see. What's his name? Of course. Really? Thank you. So, Jake Paul. It's just so weird how things happen. I'm trying to go to Google and now my phone is freezing. It's just weird stuff. Anyways, yes. The Jake, he got finished boxing Jake Paul, you know, and I've loosely referred to Jake Paul and his brother Logan Paul. I believe that they are under the program. For those of you that are new to this channel and you're not accustomed to language like that, what I mean is I believe that they could potentially be MK Ultra assets. I believe they've been in the program potentially since they were young. No, Anthony Joshua did not pass away, but two of his closest friends did. And the numerology surrounding this situation is just very strange. And the timing of it is just too as I was just talking about my older projects. There's a reason why I have a project on this channel called More Than a Coincidence. I started that 4.5 years ago because I'm sick of coincidences, you know? So anyways, I plan to have that video out later today. So stay in tune for that. Without further ado, is there anything else? Please hit the like button on your way in, of course. Let's go ahead and hop into this clip because, like I said, it's like an hour and a half. I went ahead and edited to get all the unnecessary pauses out of it. And I'm going to chime in. We're going to chime in together. All righty.
Cool. Amazing. I'm going to try to, Harrison, I'm going to add you right now. Let me just figure out. I'm going to try to get through all of this tech stuff early on because it's not my strong suit. Usually Mark is doing this stuff for me. And there are some people that I definitely want to make sure are added on as speakers. I'm just trying to, okay, there's a lot of people on. Let me get through these requests. Okay, good button. Good button. I did want to make.
Candace's hat is giving Sherlock Holmes vibes. This big old hat.
Make sure. I don't know if Morgan Ariel is in here, but I wanted to make sure that she was on as well.
So the two people that she just named, Morgan Ariel and Harrison Smith. Harrison Smith is a person I've already mentioned who's been, I mean, vehemently bashing Candace and some of the new angles that she's taken with the investigation, even though he claims to not believe the Fed slop either. Very interesting. And then the person Morgan Ariel, for those of you that aren't on Twitter, you may not know who Even Kilgore is. Even Kilgore is friends, one would even say best friends, with a girl named Morgan Ariel. And those two have probably been two of the loudest voices on X that have been supporting Candace Owens' investigation. And the reason why this is important is because Twitter is full of what I'm going to call propaganda. And I don't think everybody's paid off, so to speak. I don't think everybody's getting $7,000, but I think some of them are. I think some of them are just a part of a larger campaign to try to discredit Candace. It's just what it is. And I don't care who it is. It could be them against someone else. If it seems, manufactured, I'm going to speak on it, right? Anyways, even Kilgore has recently came out and said that he does not trust Candace Owens' recent source, Mitch Snow. Morgan Ariel has also come out and said the same thing. But the weird thing is they came out at like literally the same time, similar to how AJ, I told y'all who I will be referring to as AJ for the remainder of this video, similar to how AJ, Valhalla VFT, and the guy I just had on my channel, George Webb, all of them have been speaking out against Candace seemingly around the same time, and some of their language has even been the same, right? And so Morgan is going to join this live space, and she's going to speak on it too. So that's going to be interesting.
Come back to these. I didn't know I could do a co-host option either, so you guys have to forgive me because I'm not the best at this. Okay, I do want to start by just before I add every speaker. I think right now we only have Harrison, but I do want to add a lot more people. Especially Harrison, I'm glad that you could join because I do want to hear your perspective on things from the InfoWars standpoint. Okay, so I just want to start by recapping everything that happened with Fort Huachuca. I think that's, sorry, I'm going to add 2 more people here. Diligent, I'm going to add you. Nice to meet you. Add a speaker. Myron, I'm going to go ahead and add you. I'm going to add Ryan here. Okay, just going to do that for now, and then we can just get started. Okay, so yeah, the first thing I want to do is just to make sure that everybody understands what the Fort Huachuca story is and why people are so fired up about it, because obviously I appreciate that not everybody watches my podcast, and there has been just such an aggressive, I would describe it as a misinformation campaign. A lot of people that are chasing rabbits. It has nothing to do with what we discussed on the show. And I do think it's important for people to also have the clarity of how quickly this all unfolded. So I did create this little timeline, which I just jotted down because if I make one mistake, then the internet jumps down my throat. It's weird. When you hear how this all transpired, you're going to recognize that it all happened very quickly and very aggressively. So I have told the story on my podcast. I hate that this is just the reality of how it happened. Okay. So it was a holy day of obligation, and I did my podcast. Obviously, we do not normally go to mass in the evenings on a Monday. I think it was Monday. I think it was Monday the 8th. And we went. I literally jumped off air my podcast, ran to mass, and for whatever reason, maybe because it was just like later in the day, I didn't do my usual prayer, meaning that I normally start my prayers with gratitude, what I'm grateful for, praying for everyone in the family. And this time, for whatever reason, I just went with just basically pleading for a missing piece and saying, essentially that everyone recognizes that there is something very wrong with this Charlie Kirk story, but I just feel like there's like a small piece of this thing missing. And I was just deeply praying for a missing piece. I just want you guys to know that was truly the backstory. I then go home after mass, I sit in my bed, and I open my laptop, and there are literally 50,000 emails in my tips box. That's the old box. That's not even more tips. That's the old inbox. And one just pops in, and it's from a woman, and she just writes, I really think that you should call my friend Mitch. He has a story that you're going to want to hear. Okay. I never just, and someone drops a number, randomly call them. Obviously, I usually email back and I'll say, please give me some indication of this or that. I don't know what came over me, but I was like, ha, would this be an answered prayer? And I pick up the phone and I call Mitch. And he's kind of startled. I don't think he was just maybe with this friend. And he's like, I can't believe I'm speaking to Candace Owens. And He then proceeds to tell me the story of how he was at Fort Huachuca Air Base dealing with an issue that happened 35 years ago, when he discovered a cartel tunnel, and he happened to, and I want to be very clear here because this is important, there were only two people that he mentioned to me on the phone, and he felt absolutely certain that he saw them. Okay, he said on the evening of the 8th he saw who he then learned later on Erica Kirk. He saw her at the Candlewood Inn and Suites on September 8th. She was with a younger guy who looked like he was in special forces. He talks about his watch. And the bigger thing for me was that the next day he said that he saw this meeting, that he accidentally stumbled upon what must have been a very important top brass meeting. Essentially described it as like there were 12 to 13 O6s, and you don't see that much unless it's a very important meeting. And he described the meeting in military terms. The way that I understood it was basically, this is like final hands on deck. We're about to go on, and there's going to be a mission.
So it's very important to note that those are two separate days. I'm pausing this so that you all can understand. Mitch has never said, from what I understand, that he saw Erica Kirk the day before. He mentioned that he saw Erica Kirk on September 8th at some sort of hotel. Then he says the following day, he stumbles upon a military base in a meeting where he believes that he saw Brian Harpo. Two separate days. And then obviously on September 10th, everything happened with Charlie Kirk. Whatever happened was on September 10th. That's going to be important for later in this live when people start to join and they start arguing and giving Candace some pushback.
And he stumbled into this building by a long set of circumstances. He was going to get a coffee. He didn't realize that JTF had gotten back together. He struck up a conversation because he recognized the patch of the 10th Mountain Brigade. And eventually they tell him, oh, yeah, we're actually using this random offsite building. We're back together. It's now JTF Southern Border. And that's how he walked in. And at that moment, he was talking to people at the front desk. He saw Brian Harpole walking out of this meeting with somebody, and I'll tell you when we started talking about Mark Amadei, but he initially did not contact me about Mark Amadei or Cabot Phillips. It was, I recognized Erica Kirk on September 8th, leaving the Candlewood Inn Suites on the base, and I recognized Brian Harpole on the 9th, the morning of the 9th. The meeting was concluding at 7:30 a.m. Now, obviously, because the September 9th, the way that he described it was, first and foremost, the like, this is like, we're about to do a mission. It's the day before Charlie Kirk dies. There's been a lot of speculation about Brian Harpole. He definitively has lied about things which are on my list. He lied about what they did to prepare for Charlie speaking, kind of showed the messages. He was a bit weird about that. I was going, okay, that's really the most compelling piece for me. It's like Brian Harpole, because I'm running in my head, okay, obviously the Erica thing could be interesting, but that's on the 8th. Maybe Erica was with Dan Flood. I mean, she has security. It's Fort Huachuca. It's kind of in the Phoenix backyard. Maybe she's there for a different reason, picking something up. Her mother's sick. Her mother works in defense. Like, my mindset was just, the Brian Harpole thing is the most compelling piece for me because I think he's been acting weird. And obviously, I was not going to just assume that I should have him on the show before I went through some basic fact checks. I ran it up to some person that I trust very much, that is in government, that is in the military, asked him to vet the story. I mean, I was basically up all night dealing with this because I was going, oh my gosh, what if this is the answered prayer? And we are about to be able to assert definitively that Brian Harpole was there. So I did those sort of basic checks. And then it was December 9th, and I just told the story of what Mitch had told me. I did not mention Erica's name. That's very important because I did not, again, think that that was necessarily relevant to the meeting that had happened on the 9th. And I wanted to speak about Brian Harpole, and I just said it was a blonde girl. Anyways, that's the 9th. On December 10th, is the very next day, is when Erica sat down with Harrison Faulkner on Fox News, and she addressed conspiracy theorists as sick and said that she wanted them to stop. And then suddenly I'm trending and people are like, well, she's basically saying that you need to stop. And I was like, okay, that's just weird. Then the next day on the 11th is when Barry Weiss used the snippet of the now infamous, stop, just stop, which the TikTokers went very crazy on. And I was like, okay, that is that was specifically obviously about me. It's like Barry Weiss said, the podcaster Candace Owens. And it kind of backfired, I would say, on the internet. And suddenly the next thing I knew, Erica and I had a date to meet on that Monday. So that was Thursday. That's the stop, just stop snippet. Friday, I had no show. Sunday, I want to tell you this part because this is important. On December 14th, I received a text message from Ian Carroll. I hope he is in this chat. I'd like him to jump in case I get anything wrong here. But the text message was to me and my producer, and he was like, hey, like, I have something for you guys that I need to discuss. It's pretty urgent. When I got around to calling Ian, he told me that basically he had received information from someone. He didn't want to give me the name of the person, and that definitively, like, Brian Harpole was preparing some huge lawsuit against me. And I was like, that's really weird. And I think he said like some big like Texas lawsuit. I don't know what but like basically it was like it's a big lawsuit and like, you know, you're going to want to be careful talking about this. And I was like, okay, well, that just can't be accurate because that's not how lawsuits work. I know about lawsuits. And I said, I think someone's intentionally giving you bad information to try to scare me from talking about the Fort Huachuca thing anymore because I hadn't yet hosted Mitch to tell a story, but I had indicated that like I might do more with Mitch or I might pass him off to Ian Carroll. Next thing you know, Ian Carroll's getting a phone call and told that I'm about to get sued for mentioning Brian Harpole. So I thought that was like a little weird. And I basically said to Ian, I think, yeah, intentionally somebody gave you bad information. You first have to start with the cease and desist. And I don't factually know if what Mitch said was wrong. That ends. Monday is when Erica and I obviously had to sit down for 4.5 hours, and Turning Point kind of hosted a Q&A, which I thought was unfair and against the rules, I will say, because we agreed to not speak about anything. But that went on. Obviously, on the Tuesday, I came back and actually, let's go back to the meeting with Erica, because this is also relevant. During that meeting, I did not bring up the Fort Huachuca thing because I, first and foremost, needed to continue vetting various aspects of it, but also I have Brian Harpole's number. And so I was just going to text Brian Harpole directly. But it is worth saying that during that interview, Erica gave me Brian Harpole's flights and said, like, you know, I know that you mentioned that you thought Brian Harpole was at this interview. Here are his flights. Now, you guys would later see those flights because Alex Jones then mysteriously has these flights. I took the flights from her. I thought it was interesting because I didn't bring up Fort Huachuca and I wasn't intending to bring up Fort Huachuca, and I hadn't mentioned Erica on the show. And I looked at them and I said, oh, well, this is not an alibi because the meeting ended at 7:30 a.m. and planes that left Fort Huachuca were back in Texas. The SAM plane, as we know, went straight to Texas. And I think Brian Harpole's flight left at like 3:42 or something in the afternoon in Texas. So I was like, this does not conflict with the idea that he could have been leaving a meeting at 7:30 a.m. So it's a pretty short flight to Texas. So I said that, and that was it. But I said, but thank you for giving me this because now I can tell people that I have these flights, and also that he doesn't like yet have an alibi for that morning.
I want to pause real fast to just address one comment, and then we won't address any comments until the end. But this is important. This person says, I still think the private meeting was shady AF, but why would innocent Erica go out of her way and fly to a quote unquote crazy person? That's a great point because I'm with you on that. I'm not happy with the fact that it was a private meeting either. I think most people share that sentiment. According to her, even Candace. But I would just imagine if you're Candace, if they reach out to you, you say, no, we do this publicly. But to be fair, if they reach out to you and they say, we want a private meeting or nothing, what do? You know, you take that. Now, if you want to just give some pushback on Candace and say it's shady on both sides that both of you decided to do it privately and not finding a way to do it publicly, you get no pushback from me. I 100% agree. And to your other point about Erica, why would you go out your way to meet with a crazy person? That's a fair point. You're trying to either take Candace in a different direction or completely shut it down, and it didn't work.
I just wanted to mention that because I feel like that's important. Anyways, obviously, when we went back on air on Tuesday, I recapped I was tired and just kind of went through kind of the high points or the things that we had discussed. It was a very long meeting. On Wednesday, we broke the story about Charlie's car, and that we actually had exclusive photos of what the inside of the car looked like. On Thursday, I made the decision to have Mitch on my show. And the reason why we made that decision is because we were then working in the background to verify other aspects of his story, and we were able to do that. I now felt beyond confident. He had sent me all of his metadata. He had sent me, as you guys saw, his ID cards, his former passports, his new passports. He even sent me, now I can't say that this Mexican person was in the cartel, but his story was that he was being hunted by the cartel. He certainly had like court documents documenting that a Spanish person had broken into his home and whatever had happened. So I believed him. I believed his story. I knew that he was a Green Beret. Like I told you, I verified that information right away. And I knew that he had stumbled upon this meeting and he thought this is why they were pulling him aside. They may have thought something else, but it was substantially true. Everything he said was substantially true. Whether or not he saw Brian Harpole, I don't really know, right? Now, of course, the decision to have him on, I was aware that I could not say to him, I felt that that would have been super inauthentic if I was like, hey, tell your story, but like, let's not talk about the fact that you think 100% that you saw Erica. Like that would have just been inauthentic. And I feel like people know that, I don't know, you guys would have just like sussed that out in 4 seconds. So I understood obviously that we were opening a can of worms because people were going to be compelled, obviously, by the fact that potentially Erica Kirk was on the base the evening before, if you will, on September 8th. But again, my main thing was Brian Harpole. During that time, as we were vetting his story, he described the congressman. He thought he was pretty certain that it was a congressman of some description. And he described him what he looked like, glasses, about the age, and he said the height was 5'9". So we were sending him photos of congressmen that we thought could fit the bill, just so you guys know this. And he was like, no, 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 no. We sent him Amadei, and he's like, this person looks very familiar. Like, this could be the person. Like, have you looked into his story? Like, do you think that this could be the guy? Like, this is the first person that really looks like the guy. And he said, is he 5'9"? And I Googled that and it said he was 5'9". I actually think Google's wrong on that. I think his height is wrong. I will say that now. But it's important for you to know that he did not initially come to us with Amadei. We sent him photos. It was just Erica and Brian Harpole. Okay, so we have him on, obviously, and he says both of the names. And what happened thereafter is what I can only describe as like an explosion. I get contacted from somebody who's in DC, and they were very concerned and thought maybe somebody was feeding me bad information. And I was kind of interested in the phone call, not going to name the person, but was basically like, worried about your security and things like that. And I was like, I think we're good. Like, we're just kind of vetting the story. Then on the 20th, and this is very interesting, these two YouTubers, Valhalla and Paramount Tactical, reach out to Mitch and they're being super nice to him. And they're saying, or one of them said, and I don't want to mix them up, but we have the video of it because Mitch is predisposed to paranoia and he recorded them. And I'm going to drop the conversations. I'm happy to drop them after this live. They're so nice to him. This is on December 20th. And they're not questioning whether or not he was in the special forces. They're not saying anything weird. And they're actually saying to him that I may be under foreign influence. And I'm like, okay, these guys are clearly not good guys. Or actually, the 20th is when he first told me that they had reached out to him and wanted him on his podcast. It might have been the 21st that they called him. I'll clear that up. But between the 20th and the 22nd is when they are suddenly calling him, and they're like, oh, yeah, we're just concerned about Candace. Okay, yeah, and you're gonna see in a couple of days he loses his mind and suddenly speaking to exes and baby mamas like he's Jerry Springer. But that was the nature of their phone call. So I'm like, okay, that's weird. I don't know these guys. And then on the 22nd, I get another phone call from Ian Carroll. Oh, he's here. I'm gonna add you, Ian.
Hold on. Before we hear from Ian Carroll, did y'all just hear what she just said? This is what I was telling you all from my YouTube post from 2 weeks ago. I said, pay close attention to the let me see, because I'm sure some new people are here. Let's see if I still have it. I may not have it anymore. Let's see here. Boom. I have it. Boom, here it is. This is the post that I put up 2 weeks ago. It says, beware of some of these newer content creators who have seemingly come out of nowhere since the Charlie Kirk incident, claiming to be quote unquote experts that the algorithm is appearing to support. Despite their small channel size, please pay close attention to the direction they may take many of you in, because there will be certain explanations to corruption that they will never mention or entertain. You then need to ask yourself why. More to come in due time. We plan to expose all things on this channel. Now, the reason why I said that was because it was some things I had already started to notice behind the scenes. It was things that I was noticed with things that people have said before in the past, and now that they're saying it more so in the future, it just came off as inauthentic. Now here's Candace basically revealing that Valhalla, who has presented himself as if he is a Candace Owens supporter, which I'm not saying that he don't support some things that Candace is doing, but how do you go from one extreme to the next? Same with the even Kilgore guy. You don't go from one extreme to the next extreme. Usually there's some sort of gradual change that takes place, not one extreme to the next. You don't go from far right to far left overnight. You know what I'm saying? So to find out that they spoke to Mitch and they were super nice to the guy, and now it's very believable that the guy Gary from Paramount Tactical was doing it, because credit to him, he's been not really making a whole lot of sense, going against the narrative, supporting what the Fed has been saying to some extent, pretty much from the start. But the dude Nate from Valhalla has been presenting himself as if, I mean, I like a lot of his content. I enjoyed a lot of his videos. But it seems as if when she started talking about the military involvement, I already told you all and showed you all what he had to say. He was not happy with what Candace Owens or anybody else entertaining the possibility of anybody in the military, Mitch entertaining the possibility that anyone in the military could be involved in corruption involving a U.S. citizen, as if he knows every single person in the military.
Opportunity. And this is also why I took this story that Candace Owens put out so seriously. The idea that the U.S. military, not just the U.S. military, but service members, people serving this country, the type of person that signs up is willing to go to war, put their lives on risk. I had friends and teammates that did not come back from war. I had friends and teammates that came back dismembered from war. And so when I see a story come out that insinuates that those people, the people I served with, who signed up on the dotted line, willing to risk their lives, give their lives, sacrifice, deploy for 6 to 9 months at a time, be away from their wives, their children, their husband, the insinuation that those people would be willing to assassinate at a unit level, an organizational level, would be willing to plan, operate, and assassinate an American citizen, an American patriot like Charlie Kirk, is absolutely disgusting, and it's spitting in the fucking face of every veteran, every soldier that came before me, and my dead fucking friends and teammates. That insinuation, and that's why I took this. And sorry, I'm ranting a little bit here. That's why I took this entire thing so fucking personally, as did all the veterans, because it's absolutely a fucking disgusting accusation to begin with. So anyway, that got a little long-winded, but and if you think Preaching Nate is annoying, then guess what? You are the first and only person that's gonna get banned. That's it. That's how it goes. We do maybe one every 2 to 3 weeks. Now you're fucking done. If you don't like it, get the fuck out. So yes, I will support the U.S. military. I'll support your sons and daughters joining. If you don't like it, fucking leave. Get the fuck out. Go. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Disgusting. While also taking the position that if somebody has a suspicious history, especially if they've been convicted of a felony, which, by the way, from my understanding, and I think we're going to get into this a little bit later in Candace Owens' X Live here, I don't know if he's ever been convicted. Mitch, the guy Mitch, I don't know if he's ever been convicted of anything. You all are talking about what he's been accused of. You all have been talking about the lawsuits. Maybe he's guilty of these things, maybe not. What does that have to do with the things that he said? Even if he's been proven or been accused of being a pathological liar, it doesn't mean that he's incapable of telling one truth. It's not like it's impossible for him to see something or be a witness to something. Remember the quote that I put up. When a crime happens in hell, the witnesses will not be angels unless they're fallen angels, which is to say even bad people witness crimes. Remember, some of the best COs or criminal informants or witnesses for police officers, FBI officers, are criminals, criminal informant. They've been convicted of crimes, but they're also the best snitches. They're the best witnesses. Remember, some of the best criminals get hired by the FBI. If you've been so good at scamming people, maybe we need to bring you onto our team. That's happened in television shows too many times to count at the very least. But the irony here is that he's sitting here with a person that has allegedly been convicted of multiple felonies and bragged about it. But then he comes on his YouTube channel, that being the guy Nate from Valhalla, saying that we love Candace, we support Candace over here, we support the investigation, but really what he means is we support it unless you implicate that the military could be involved, because that's impossible. What? No.
Speaker. I get another phone call from Ian Carroll, and this time Ian is like, totally freaked as in like very concerned, because obviously like I have a good relationship with Ian Carroll, and to some degree he respects Valhalla, and he's like, look, I have this friend who's in the military, he has a YouTube channel, and he basically runs me through, and he's like basically saying that he wants to talk to me. And it was kind of said to me in a way that was like, if you don't kind of take this rope like and jump off of this train, like what's going to come out about Mitch is going to be explosive, and you're going to like go down on the ship. That's essentially the vibe that Valhalla was giving to Ian Carroll, and basically like kind of demanding to get on the phone with me. And I was like, and then he starts talking about, first he said stolen valor. Like he was like, he was never a Green Beret. I was like, he absolutely was a Green Beret. I sent that up the chain in the government. Like that's just not true. And it felt to me like they were clearly being quite aggressive with Ian on the phone, demanding to speak to me, demanding I allow them onto my platform, talking about his like ex-wives. I was like, I don't care about any of this. And I said to Ian, this seems to me like they're trying to distract me with stupid stuff. Like if he has something that is concrete that like Mitch somehow defrauded me or lied and did like definitively was not a Green Beret, then please just have him email it to me. And I said, and if he emails that to me, I will deal with it immediately. And I also made it clear to Ian that, because they were like, oh, then like she could get in trouble for fraud because she raised money for this guy and he wasn't even like a Green Beret. I was like, first off, he never asked me to raise money for him. So the idea that he was doing this to defraud me for money, that came out naturally when I was live. I said I would do a give, send, go, because I said people were going to start digging up things. Like I just had a feeling like I thought it would be other people, but I just felt like, oh, let's like raise money for him. He had a tough life, whatever. And I had that court paperwork of what he was going through. So that was natural. And not only that, but the very next day, which I will show on my show this week, Mitch sent me an email the day after I started the Give, Send, Go. The morning after, he sent me and Skylar an email and said, thank you so much for raising money, but I do not want to accept this money from you. And he was very self-deprecating. He was like, I'm just a fat, ugly man, and I just wanted to help, and I don't deserve this. Like, I don't deserve this from the public. And then I called him and I was like, Mitch, this is kind of stressful. Like, I don't want to figure out how to like give people back all this money. And he was like, how about this? If the tip that I gave you proves fruitful, like if it's actually Brian Harpole or if it's Erica, then I will take the money. Otherwise, I don't want it. So he was never trying to get money from me. That whole, he's a fraud, he was trying to steal, like none of that is real. It's just completely made up. And again, I will drop the receipts of exactly when he emailed me the morning after.
Imagine how embarrassing that is. Imagine how embarrassing that is that you're pushing this narrative that this guy, like, I'm not to say that it wasn't possible, but if you're going to come out with this quote unquote bombshell, which is what Nate from Valhalla was saying, he's going to drop this bombshell and he's going to come with the receipts. And I played a clip in the video a couple of days ago where he said, and I won't lose if he decides to go after, or if he decides to take this route, which is a very arrogant thing to say, bro. And thank you so much for correcting me. It's not criminal informant. It's confidential informant. Thank you so much. That's right. But the point still stands. Confidential informant are usually the criminals, are usually the people that's involved in the street life, involved in the criminal activity, right? Which makes them a lot more quote unquote trustworthy in the most ironic way because they're already in the mix, right? So just because of a person's background doesn't mean that they can't witness things. But I digress.
So yeah, that's what I said to Ian. And I was like, I just don't care about anything about his background at all. I want to know if they have anything about him not being a Green Beret. I will obviously post an update and say this guy completely tricked me with his metadata and everything. They were unwilling to do that. They did not want to do that. And so that's when they started, I guess, talking to his estranged son from 20 years ago. I don't know. I don't know, because I knew that it was an intentional trying to pull you, like they want to bring you down in mud so that you don't go forward, and you have to just focus on the facts.
Right, Candace. But something else I want you to think about, and I want you all to think about, is it's very funny that they'll go into Mitch's history, but they won't go into the history of the people that they're talking to about Mitch. The women that are accusing Mitch of things, we dug into the criminal, the lawsuits, into the court docs, and there's another side to this story, which is that allegedly those women, one of those women, her name is Lainey, was allegedly, I don't know if she's guilty of this either, she's innocent until proven guilty, was allegedly starving and potentially even abusing one of their children. And apparently they have evidence of this. I don't know if this is true or not. So my point is, it's two sides to every story. You can call Mitch's son, you can contact Mitch's ex-wives and girlfriends and baby mamas, but their history don't matter, but Mitch's history matter. That's called hypocrisy, double standards.
So that is the backstory of Fort Huachuca. We all then know what happens next, and Alex Jones jumps into the foray. He's talking about Mitch's history. He's putting out all this information. Mark Amadei did, I do want to say as an update, I scrubbed through looking for roll calls, and then somebody indicated to me that they see him in his chair. He missed the roll call for some reason, but early on in the video, I agree, it does look like Mark Amadei. So that might be, it could be him. And we're looking for somebody else who looks like Mark Amadei. And I also think his height is wrong on Google. I don't think he looks like he's 5'9". So Mark Amadei might be completely like off the hook on that. And again, he wasn't the person that Mitch initially said we gave him that photo. Now, the Cabot Phillips thing is also very interesting. I don't really care about, like, Mitch's estranged relationship with his son. Like, I'm not interested. I'm not Maury. I'm not here to, like, bring families back together. But I tried to debunk him. I thought that was very easy to be able to debunk him with Cabot Phillips, because Cabot Phillips, he has a daily show at the Daily Wire. I think he does it maybe 3 times a week or something. But the Morning Wire, obviously, I worked the Daily Wire. And I was like, well, that's pretty simple. If you're saying that Cabot Phillips was here in Arizona, he actually lives here in Nashville and he has a show. Let me just go find him on his show. Well, it also turns out that Cabot Phillips, from September 4th all the way through to September 10th until September 11th, took a vacation and he wasn't on a show. So when I realized that, I did the right thing. I messaged Cabot Phillips. I sent him 2 messages asking if he could just answer whether or not he was there, because I don't want to throw like any shade his way. I had sent him, just to get to the Phillips bit, I had sent Mitch multiple photos of guys like this person. I thought maybe Dan Flood this. He's like, no, 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 no. I gave him no context, but saw that Cabot Phillips was trending and I had no idea he was one of Erica's exes. I sent him the photo and he's like, that's the guy. That's the guy that was with her. And again, I'm now relying on Mitch's memory. I don't know what his facial recognition software is. If it's like mine, it's terrible. Okay. I can meet someone like 5 times and still not place their faces. But if it was my husband, he can meet someone once and he's like, that's him. We saw him at the airport in New Jersey. You don't remember? And I'm like, of course I don't remember. Some people have it, some people don't. So I just wanted to try to confirm it. Cabot Phillips did not respond to me. Okay, you can say he's not required to respond to me. That's fine. I'm giving you the information.
But here's the problem. Yeah, Candace, he doesn't have to respond to you. But let's just back up here so that everybody's on the same page here. Candace Owens, not because we're supposed to believe everything that Candace Owens says either. Let's just play devil's advocate. We don't know who to believe. So let's just use the word allegedly. Candace Owens, according to what Candace Owens has said, has allegedly reached out to Brian Harpo before she dropped the interview with Mitch to either confirm or deny if what Mitch is saying is true. And Brian had the opportunity to easily debunk this. And the story would have went nowhere. Brian Harpo, as you're going to hear Candace talk about later in this live, never responded to her. To this day, he never responded. She reached out to Cabot Phillips, allegedly. He never responds to Candace. Erica Kirk has a direct line to Candace. She never reaches out to Candace to debunk this story, ever. Not once to this day. No one finds that suspicious. You can easily debunk this. But instead, you do care because we found out that you went through Gary from Paramount Tactical, which means you do care about debunking it. Except the information that you're giving is not only not debunking it, it's actually exposing you even more. And we're crazy for noticing.
I would probably respond, like, just because it's such an easy thing to do. But that was interesting. I was compelled by that. He said that he thought the person was potentially a pilot or would have had pilots in his family, because Mitch said, I'm a watch guy, and I recognized his watch, and it's a watch that pilots wear. It's digital. It had a yellow button, whatever, whatever. Well, there's never been anything publicly about Cabot being in the military. So I was like, that seems wrong to me. And then sure enough, I dug up a post that his grandfather was, I don't know, like awarded high honors in the military and was an Air Force guy. So I was like, okay, well, that's another like interesting thing that's happening. I would like to look further into that. Now, in terms of people saying that, Erica doesn't owe you an alibi, I didn't ask Erica for an alibi. So when suddenly I realized that Paramount Tactical was speaking with Andrew Colvett and she was providing an alibi to Andrew Colvett, well, then suddenly now, if you're going to provide an alibi, then let's provide an alibi. Like, right. You know what I'm saying? I'm happy to just like communicate whatever that alibi is. I never demanded it privately. I didn't demand it in her face. And I still don't, even if she had said, yeah, I was at Fort Huachuca, I was at a hotel and I was dropping off a package, that doesn't necessarily put her at the meeting the next day. But Mitch did say that the person who he thinks looks like Cabot Phillips was at that meeting the next day. So obviously that's interesting. Like, obviously, if we're investigating this, we should just, like, we could check it off the list and move on. I have messaged Brian Harpole, just so you guys know, thus far, I want to say 4 times, at least 3 times, asking him. Again, we can't say he was willing to give his flights, but doesn't want to also just give his metadata or a picture or something they took a text message at that time
Right.
to clear his name. You either
Right.
want to give an alibi or you don't want to give an alibi. You either are saying, I don't owe you an alibi, I don't want to answer at all. But if you're going to do something halfway, then you should provide a full alibi. Now, I will say that I had some communication. I did message also once the thing exploded with Andrew Kovac, because he's just getting on my nerves. Like, really, I have been so nice in terms of what I have told the public about things that Andrew Kovac told me. He's starting to, like, a little bit play with the bull, and we're getting real close. We're getting real close to me just saying, if you guys really think that I have not been fair, you will really recognize how fair I have been if he keeps pressing me. And I felt very pushed by that Paramount Tactical thing. These people are lunatics, blah, blah, blah. It's like, bro, send me a text, and I could have shut it down immediately. But you're like, I'm assuming you're also the person talking to Andrew. I mean, speaking to Alex, because Alex did say on his show that he spoke to Turning Point USA people, and like he had Brian Harpole's flight. So it's pretty obvious. It seems like they're working behind the scenes, and that's annoying me. It's annoying me a lot, actually. Anyways, so once I saw that Andrew Colvett was speaking with Paramount Tactical and being, I don't know, I guess sort of denigrating what we were doing, I then was like, okay, let me text someone more responsible at Turning Point USA and ask, hey, do you guys want to give me an alibi? So I put Andrew Colvett and the COO in a chat, and I was like, hey, just figured we could have a direct line and you can just give me Erica's alibi and I'd be happy to publish it, because I'm not interested in like throwing mud on someone's name. I just want to get to the truth.
Right.
That conversation was had yesterday, and they did give me an indication of what she was doing, which was making dinner for Charlie. I have asked for, metadata to show that that it was, Charlie that she was texting, and I'm still waiting for that. So the last conversation I had with them, I think that was yesterday, Sunday at around 1:00 p.m. ish, my time, Central, I think, and they said that Erica got busy with the kids and that they were going to get me something. So I'm still waiting on that.
Sure. Sure. It's just so interesting to me that something this important, something this big, because this isn't just any person. This is freaking Candace Owens, who was not only friends with your husband, but she's one of the biggest podcasters in the world. And she's investigating something, and her investigation is leading her to believe, and leading millions of other people to believe, that you could have potentially had played a role in some facet. Don't you want to immediately debunk that? Oh, she's busy doing this. No, she's not. She wasn't too busy when she's been going on this this media tour, leaving her children back with babysitters or whoever. No.
So you guys know that I have been responsible and speaking to the people directly, trying to get the information. Now, obviously, Sam, I very much agree with you, and I'm going to let you jump in here. Actually, let's start with Harrison, because I would love to hear his side. I think it's for the most
Here we go.
part,
This is where it gets very, very interesting.
he's done a lot of great work. He has not been feeding us a fed slop and telling us that Charlie had a magic neck, and it's good to hear from people who disagree with us. So, Harrison, if you want to unmute yourself and jump in, that would be great.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I guess my whole thing is, why does this meeting even matter? Like, what is the actual claim that's being made here? That's been my confusion the whole time, is like, okay, let's say that there's absolute proof, photographic evidence that everything that Snow says is true. Like, who cares? I mean, what does that prove? What is the actual accusation? Who do you think was conspiring with who to do what?
Yeah.
And I think, obviously the name of the episode was, the day before Charlie Kirk was murdered. The insinuation is that this was a assassination planning meeting,
Yeah.
which I don't even see any evidence of that. And then people I'm arguing with online are saying, no, this has nothing to do with the assassination.
Yeah.
So, I guess, if the space is why this matters, why does Fort Huacachuca even matter? Like, what is the claim being made? I still don't even understand that.
So it matters because why would Brian Harpole be on Fort Huachuca at all, right? It matters because he's giving an alibi, which means he doesn't want to be associated. Like, it could have easily not mattered. kind of to speak to your credit, he could have been like, yeah, I was at Fort Huachuca with my brother. And my brother's in the military. I was dropping off some food. Okay, like that could have been then suddenly a dead end. That would have been nothing. Now, because Mitch had described this as a top secret meeting in an off-site building and had described this as top brass at the Pentagon and said that these sorts of meetings, and I am forgetting the military term, are when you're just about to embark on like a mission. I know I really uneducated, but military guys will sound better saying that. It was compelling. Like, okay, like I said, Brian Harpole was acting funny. He's been acting weird. He's been telling verifiable lies, and he cared enough to present an alibi, meaning he didn't want people to think he was there, right? So if you have to give someone an alibi, it's because you don't want people to think that you're there. There is an alibi is not needed if there's nothing to hide. So
Well,
that's why it matters. I think that's why it matters. And this reaction, rather than being forthcoming, is why it suddenly feels like, okay, this is important because no one's acting normal. No one's just like, oh yeah, cool, he was there. Like it also is, as we have now learned, it's an intel base. He was telling the truth about exactly what building it was. I didn't name the building on my show because I wasn't sure if that would be like a national security problem, but it just happened to be that JTF was borrowing that offsite building, and it was supposed to be a top secret meeting for those purposes. Somebody that was involved in blacking out the windows had sent us a tip. Again, it's how people are reacting to the meeting that lets us know that it's important.
okay. I mean,
Now,
I guess.
regarding the hotel, I never said it was important. Like I said, my perspective was there's 1,000 different reasons that she could have been at that base. Her mother has a contract or had a contract, has a contract with the DOD. Erica has been open about her mother's ties to the military in the past. She actually did an interview and said that she moved to Arizona because her mother had a contract with the military. So again, weird thing is when Andrew's like, Erica wasn't in some fort, as if he's never heard of Fort Huachuca. His brother is in the military. His brother is Captain Curtis Colvett. His first cousin is Captain Robert Colvett. So that walked in, and
Which, by the way, I accidentally went back. We got to find that place in the video again. But for those of you that don't know, Brian the auditor came back on the channel, and he actually covered this with me. We dug into the history of the military connections, and she's right. Andrew Colvett's family is deep into the military. But I want to make sure that everybody understands this about Harrison Smith. Harrison Smith, who I don't mind pushback, I don't mind skepticism, but it's very odd with this guy. So you're questioning why it is that she's looking into this angle. That's what an investigation is. You're supposed to, entertain all different angles, all different possibilities to try to figure out anything that looks off, anything that looks weird. If there's nothing there, great. If it takes us nowhere, fine. We turn around and we find something else. We turn over all stones. That's how investigations work in the movies. That's how it works in real life. That's how it works. You're saying, oh, it doesn't make sense. I don't know where it could go. What are you ultimately saying here? Why does that matter? This is the same dude. Let me show you all the tweet that this guy put out. This is him. He put this out. This is him. It says, I'm not going to name names, but I was told by someone close to Charlie Kirk that Charlie thinks that one foreign nation will unalive him if he turns against them. He put that out August the 13th, a little bit under a month or over a month before everything happened with Charlie. Then he retweeted it when it started to go viral everywhere. And he said, I posted this nearly a month ago. Yes, it's true. My source was secondhand, but it came up during a conversation about right-wing Zionist influencers. He's going to be asked in this live to reveal his source. He's going to be asked in this live, why is it that you're not talking about this? Why are you giving pushback to investigations? It's weird, dude. And I want y'all to take a listen to what he said. But first,
that moment,
let me find that part in the interview.
Know if they have anything.
Let's see.
It's pretty simple. If you're saying like Cabot Phillips was here in Arizona, off some food. Okay, like that could have been then suddenly
And they weren't there, then providing the alibi.
All right, here you go.
Erica has been open about her mother's ties to the military in the past. She actually did an interview and said that she moved to Arizona because her mother had a contract with the military. So again, weird thing is when Andrew's like, Erica wasn't in some fort, as if he's never heard of Fort Huachuca.
Right.
His brother is in the military. His brother is Captain Curtis Colvett. His first cousin is Captain Robert Colvett. So that kind of a language is why I've named this, why it suddenly really matters, right? It was sort of one episode. I didn't exactly dedicate a whole series to it. The reaction has been so almost like violently obsessed that the public is now going, oh, okay, well, it feels like there's something here. I think that's just sort of our natural instinct.
Okay. I mean, I think if you're saying that somebody is somewhere and they weren't there, then providing the alibi is not in and of itself suspicious. If the alibi is not confirmed, I guess you can be suspicious of that. But again, I still, there's still not an answer. Like, okay, let's just say you're right. Let's just say that absolutely they were there.
Yeah.
What does that prove? What is the accusation? Because what it sounds like, and I mean, what the insinuation obviously is that this was a planning meeting for the assassination, and the people there had pre-knowledge of the assassination and were therefore in on it. So I think that if you are making that accusation, which in effect you are, right? You're in effect saying, okay, Erica Kirk and the head of security were at this pre-assassination planning meeting.
Erica was there, so you guys have to stop repeating that. It's Erica was never at that meeting. And that's another thing. I've never said Erica was at the meeting. Mitch has never said Erica was at that meeting. There was never an indication she was at that meeting. He did not see her on September 9th. It was Brian Harpole who was at that meeting. To my knowledge, Brian Harpole, I don't know why he would be at an intel base at a meeting with top brass. And what I can tell you is if he was there, Turning Point doesn't know he was there. According to Erica and Justin Strife, who I sat down for 4.5 hours. So if Turning Point has him on their payroll and they've outright purchased a security firm and they don't know what he's doing on an intel base, yeah, it matters. And we don't need to know the conclusion to follow the clues here that something's wrong. So that there's this fashionable thing where people are always like, well, what's the final thing you're saying? Well, we don't know the final thing that we're saying.
Right.
Because that's not how an investigation works.
And that's the same thing she said to Piers Morgan. Harrison Smith, to me, and this is just me because you're going to hear Myron Gaines, Ian Carroll, Candace has already said some nice things about him. They're going to all say some nice things about Harrison. Let me tell you, I don't know him personally, so let me tell you on the outside looking in how he appears to me. When you put out a tweet like this and the tweet goes viral, everybody's wanting to know who told you this. It's similar to how Andrew Colvett told Candace, you and Tucker Carlson may be next. How would you know something like that? That's not just some random kid from the left that unalived Charlie. That sounds like some sort of operation that's taking place. Meanwhile, this guy Harrison, which here's another interesting thing about Harrison that many of you all who may be familiar with him may find interesting. After this live, I want you all to go to his Twitter page or his X page. For some odd reason, any tweet from him, any retweet, any post from him prior to December 2025, you can no longer find it. So I'm going to say it appears, because I don't know what happened. It appears that he has deleted all of his tweets prior to December, prior to this month. Why would you be doing that? Why would you do that? And now you're voluntarily joining Candace's live, her own investigation. Keep in mind, no one has to watch Candace. None of us have to. We can do our own investigations, or we don't have to focus on it. There are a million of other things happening in the world right now. You're choosing to insert yourself into another human being's investigation to say, why are you looking over here? Where is it going? Who cares? Why do you care so much? How about you explain to us this tweet? Who told you this? Have you went to the police? That's what we want to know.
Well, we
have to follow the thing that's the lie. We have to follow, okay, this guy said he was here, he wasn't. What does that mean? I don't know what it means yet. I don't know what it means yet. What I'm saying is the reaction to this is not normal. Brian Harpole shouldn't be on an intel base if Turning Point doesn't know about it. And he's presented an alibi that doesn't actually cover where he was, but he felt it necessary to give an alibi. So, I don't know, interesting. And I think we have a right to think. So if that's cool, I'm just going to let somebody else jump in right here. Is that okay, Harrison? Or do you want to just have a final thought there?
Sure. Okay. So Erica Kirk was not there. You don't believe that Erica Kirk was there at all.
She wasn't there on the 9th. She was not seen on the 9th. It's not about whether I believe she was there. She wasn't seen on the 9th. That was never said. He never said it. I never said it.
Okay. But yeah. She was seen on the 8th.
Yes. And not at the Intel meeting, not in the Intel, headquarters or whatever building they were using. She was not seen with the top brass, nothing like that.
Okay, so the pre-assassination planning meeting happened on the morning of the 9th. She was seen in the area on the afternoon of the 8th, but those were unrelated. She just happened to be
they
there.
are related because of the person she was with, who he believes looks like Cabot Phillips. He did see that person at the meeting on the 9th.
Okay, so again, so you are saying that basically these people were there to conspire to kill Charlie Kirk, right?
And you can keep saying what you're saying, or you can listen to what I'm saying. But if you want to just say what you're saying, just say it and don't put it behind you're saying. Just say, hey, I'm Harrison and I'm saying, right? That's easier, I think. So what did you say?
Hi, I'm Harrison. What I'm saying is that in 2 months, nobody is going to remember the name Mitch Snow or Fort Huachuca, and this is not going to go anywhere, and that this is a nothing burger. I just think it's an absolute nothing burger that's not going to lead anywhere. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. You can prove me wrong, but again, my whole thing has always been that this devolves into this question of like, was he there? Was he not there? And the whole time I'm just going, what does it matter? If the conclusion is that he's a complete liar, it's the exact same outcome as proving that these people were actually there, because so far you haven't connected it to the assassination in any way whatsoever, except that maybe this guy thinks that he saw people that are around Charlie Kirk. And my whole point is, obviously the insinuation is, I mean, again, when you're saying Erica Kirk was there, but not actually there on the day, but in the area, but not because of the assassination meeting, but it's like, okay, clearly the insinuation is that these people had something to do with the assassination, and you can make that claim or not, or pretend that you are, or pretend that you're not, but you obviously are. But like, that's all. I don't really care about any of that.
Thanks,
but you have to.
Thank you. Let's skip somebody. I think
Yeah, get this guy up out of here. So hold on. Let's just make sure that first and foremost, does Candace sound like somebody that has went crazy, or does she sound very articulate, very coherent? I think she sounds very coherent to me. I think she's handling pushback when you voluntarily choose to give people that oppose your position an opportunity to speak when over 40,000 people are listening to you, and you give about 10 to 15 people the ability to speak, and 3 to 4 of them oppose your view. I think that's a very coherent decision to make. Don't you think? Most people would like to be in an echo chamber. She's clearly showing that she doesn't operate that way, and you have to respect that. But let's just back up here just a little bit to this is why you think it's like, am I going crazy? So hold on, Harrison. You put out a tweet a month before Charlie Kirk was allegedly pow-powed, electrocuted, burned, staged his own, whatever may have happened that day. A month before you put out a tweet. Then September comes, something happens that day, and we are led to believe that Charlie Kirk lost his life. Got it. One of his close friends, named Candace Owens, has appeared to not believe what the feds have been telling us. And then hundreds of thousands of other Americans feel the same exact way. We want to look into this ourselves because they're telling simple, verifiable lies. They're feeding us and almost gaslighting us into this stage of like paranoia. Harrison's position is, even though I had reason to believe a month before that Charlie Kirk was going to be unalive due to some sort of operation, even though I have reason to believe that because a source directly told me that, if his security, who was there when everything happened, was involved or seen being a part of some secret meeting the day before, we shouldn't even investigate that if we can't absolutely prove what was said at the meeting. We shouldn't even be looking at it. What is this guy talking about? Where do you come from? Where do you come from? You work at InfoWars, but you need to be working at a post office somewhere. I don't understand these people. Somebody got to break this down for me. Let me see if the post office is hiring. Let's see if the post office is hiring. Hold on one sec. That's my camera. Let's see if the post office is hiring in my area. Is the post office hiring? Yeah, they're hiring. I'm going to send him some applications, man, because you're definitely in the wrong line of work, bro. I don't know what this dude is doing. It's weird. It's weird. But he's going to join. Somebody's going to call him out later, and he's going to come back on, and he's going to get pressed on this tweet that I just showed you all.
Just for you to say something clearly and obviously and clearly doesn't make it clear or obvious.
Okay.
I'm following this investigation. Charlie was assassinated. I'm going to take every step, and I'm going to say what I know at the exact time that I know it. So I cannot say that it was definitively an assassination meeting. I can say that I have a feeling about this meeting, that if it is in fact Brian Harpole there, and he's lying about that, then that's not good. It's not a good thing because there's no reason to lie unless you have something to hide. But thank you so much for your feedback. I appreciate that and hope to speak in the future. I am going to allow Ian. Did you want to jump in here?
I'd be happy to, but depends on what you want to talk about. I had to jump in late. I was in a different meeting when I got some text messages of like, yo, get in here.
Oh, yeah. I was just mentioning, I was giving the timeline and just telling people when you and I had the call, and you were kind of just trying to give me a heads up about, Valhalla, I think it was Valhalla, right? That wanted to speak with me about Mitch and that his backstory was stolen valor. I wasn't sure if I got something wrong, but I thought it was Valhalla, right?
Yeah. I mean, there's been a lot of people that have been trying to get a hold of you. I'm like a regular conduit for people trying to get a hold of you. You know how it is.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, definitely there's been, it was once things started to fire up, people were starting to talk about like what they saw as holes in Mitch's story.
Yeah.
And it's been very interesting to watch how that has evolved on channels like Paramount Tactical, especially.
Yeah, and now I don't know if it's evolving or devolving.
Yeah.
But
I do want to say though, real quick though,
It's devolving, Candace. How do you bring on Mitch's son, who in the process of you trying to expose both Mitch and expose Candace Owens and expose this entire theory that something else happened to Charlie other than what the feds are telling us, and in the process of this interview, Mitch's son literally verifies that Mitch was there because the military called him because he was listed. Mitch's son, who he hadn't spoken to in like 20 years, was listed as an emergency contact. The military called him, which proves that Mitch was there. Much like how my guy Barron said, Gary from Paramount Tactical, and even Valhalla to some extent, but mostly Gary from Paramount Tactical, has been the number one of the biggest supporters of Candace Owens inadvertently in confirming and helping her investigation. Who raised you people?
Was that I was expecting Valhalla to go way more off the rail. Like he definitely voiced his opinion when he did his episode with all of his evidence. He definitely came out hot and voiced his opinion. But I actually was pleasantly surprised by how Valhalla did that, in the sense that based on what he knew and the source that he had, he condemned what he saw as what Mitch was and what Mitch's actions were. But he also didn't like. I felt glad that he didn't overstep himself and kind of blow up on you too hard and try to like over extrapolate what he was showing. But I also have been watching what other people have been bringing out about Mitch since then that seemed to make me question whether what Valhalla had was the whole story. So I'm just kind of sitting back and watching.
And that was all.
No. You will not get that pass on this channel, because I will give Ian Carroll the benefit of the doubt, because one, he knows these people. He actually have relationships with these people. So he may have to see these people. He may have to brush shoulders with these people. I don't. Let me just say, from my perspective, this is what I agree about Ian Carroll. I like Ian Carroll. I have nothing bad to say about the guy. I don't know him personally. He and I've interacted a little bit here and there. Ian Carroll, just his personality type, is more of a passive-aggressive type of person. And there's a lot of human beings that are like that. I just so happen to be wired differently. And I'm a little bit more brass. I'm a little bit more outgoing. And I'm a little bit more direct. Let me tell you why I believe that Valhalla, because when I made my live about him like two days ago, whenever it was, I had just a couple of people in the comment section saying he absolutely did not go off on Candace. This is a clickbait title. Didi, I like your content. Please don't tell me you're willing to lie to the audience just to give you like what? Hold on. Yes, he did. And I, in my opinion, proved it in that video clip. I also said in that video that he didn't go completely off on Candace, but let me tell you why that is. Because he got a lot of pushback. So what you all are talking about was the video that he did Friday, but let's back up a little bit. His original reaction when he warned Candace and gave Candace this ultimatum of making a video by Friday, knowing that this woman is a mother and a wife and that she's on holiday break. He told her, you have until Friday or I'm going to quote unquote expose Mitch. Why do you need Candace to pull back on anything to expose Mitch? If Mitch is a fraud, expose him regardless, bro. Why would you withhold that information if she ends the GoFundMe or the Give Send Go? Still expose him. All of that was theater, bro. I just showed you all a clip of why it is that he was really butthurt. He's a part of, he's a what, ex Green Beret, maybe still Green Beret. I don't know. I appreciate his service. Absolutely. But he's butthurt that anybody can entertain the idea that the military could be involved in corruption that results in an American citizen, especially someone of a Charlie Kirk status, that results in them losing their life, allegedly. That's what he's butthurt about. So what happened was he dropped that warning and he got hella pushback in his comment section. All those people gave him heck of pushback. And when they told him, like, and I'm not even exaggerating, 95, 96% plus of his comment section of his original video were people going against him. And I was proud to see that. Not because I want to see him get bashed. It's not that. But it's that people are not falling for nonsense. They're like, bro, what are you talking about, bro? What are you talking about? You're sounding like those other people. You're sounding like Gary from Paramount Tactical. You're sounding like the opposite of what your content has been like. That's why, because he got a bunch of pushback in his comment section, so he knew it was bad for business. It was going to affect his bottom line, if you catch my drift. Because when he go live and you got thousands of people watching you, if you're upsetting those people, they're going to stop tuning into your show. So you have to do some sort of a compromise. That's what happened. So when he dropped his video Friday and all he had was Mitch's history, he didn't debunk anything that Mitch said. He just talked about Mitch's history. Yes, the history can be the biggest teller of what the future may hold. I agree with you. But that's why you should be skeptical, hesitant to believe everything that Mitch is saying. But that don't mean you should completely disregard it. How about you debunk what he said or move out the way, bro? Move out the way. That's why he didn't go so hard. Respectfully, Ian Carroll, that's the reason, bro. It wasn't because he respects Candace or he wanted to be nice. Nope. He saw all the people in his comment section wasn't rocking with him. So he was like, let me toe the line here and be super careful. And it still didn't work because, okay, great. The dude might not be a great human. Who cares? What about what he said, bro? My bad, y'all. I went on a tangent.
Also, another thing, I think that's a good point, Ian, is like people that were pretending that they were speaking to like his like baby mamas and his son that he hasn't spoken to since he was 2, by the way. So if he hasn't spoken to him since he was 2, the implication is his son knows his father through his mother. That's like what happens when you don't speak to your father since you were 2. But it is interesting that they didn't do any background checks on the women.
Right. Right. They from Valhalla didn't care about their history. He don't care if they've been proven to be pathological liars. He cares about virtue signaling, about protecting all women, just because a man has been accused, not convicted, but accused of doing things to them. Okay.
Then I saw, and I didn't want to, again, get dragged down in the mud, but like they had, had accused a few men, but they stayed away from that. It was like, no, like this is what's out there about Mitch. And that's why I was saying to you, like, I was like, this feels to me like a way to distract from what I basically am trying to do, which is I feel like I'm the only one who's actually trying to debunk Mitch, like going to Brian Harpole, going to Turning Point USA and saying, hey, like, give me something. I'm happy for this to be wrong. Right. Whereas everyone else seems to just be trying to distract. I do want to let, let's do Ryan and then Isabella, and then we'll do Diligent Denna.
Shout out to Ryan Mata, man. I love his show. Go follow, give Ryan Mata. I think he's mostly on Twitter or X. Go give him a follow, man. Love his content, bro. He's super common sense, has integrity, speaks out against the grain, speaks out against the main narrative. I love his show. If you rock with me and you rock with my channel, then I think you like Ryan.
Zin, I think that's right.
Diligent, actually, his app kicked him down. You should re-add him.
I did.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, I'm just jumping in here listening right now, so I'm going to hang out for a minute, and then cool. I'll jump in at the end.
Cool. Awesome. Isabella, did you want to jump in here?
Yeah. Hi. Thanks for having me up here. It's been a lot of debate going on with this, and I think Harrison did bring up some good points, and I've been really interested in the drama between you and Evan, and I'm curious, so Morgan and Evan are friends, and did she just randomly reach out to you and let you know this? Because that's a little shady on her part with Evan.
No, she didn't. She actually did it by accident. So
Isabella is here to gossip. She's here because of drama. Like, come on, bro.
She, I don't know her at all. I think she's had a pretty good opinion about stuff, and she's definitely kind of been one of the early people on saying how she was treated when she started talking about Israel. And so I think what happened was we should definitely separate Evan from Israel, Evan from Morgan. Morgan kind of, it seemed weird because it was like nothing happened, and then they both kind of wrote these statements. Like, and you don't actually have to, you know, break up with anybody on X, that you can just like just not agree with something. I don't know. I never feel like the need to write like a very long statement if I disagree with something, a commentator that I'm listening to. I'm like, kind of like, you know, like I listen to. Yeah.
So once again, for those of you that aren't on Twitter, just so you're not confused, I'm going to just fill you in on what they're talking about right now. There's a guy by the name of Evan Kilgore, who has been one of the biggest supporters of the investigation about Candace Owens. Here recently, over the past maybe week or so, since Candace Owens has released this interview with Mitch Snow, Evan eventually came out and said, listen, I still support Candace, but I don't like this Mitch guy. I've heard some suspicious things about his history, about his past. We don't have good reason to believe him. I don't trust him. So this part of the investigation, I'm not supporting it. Still rocking with the investigation. He got a lot of pushback for it. Since that point, he is all out, just basically went from one extreme to the next, where he's saying things on Twitter like he should have believed Nick Fuentes from the beginning about Candace Owens. But which is Nick Fuentes accused Candace Owens after Nick Fuentes is in Candace Owens' interview. Nick Fuentes accused Candace Owens of switching up on him or something, which didn't make sense to me. But that's exactly what Candace Owens accused Nick Fuentes of, but I digress. So that was the accusation. Evan is now saying he should have believed Nick Fuentes from the jump. Candace Owens is spiraling out of control with her investigations. He's not following this. A lot of her people that follow her are cult-like. I do agree to some extent. A lot of people have become, they don't even want you to question Candace. I'm not blind, bro. Like I say, things are nuanced in real life. It's only on the internet people want you to be radical. You have to radically be 100% for Trump. You can't ever criticize Trump for anything. Absolutely not. You have to 100% be for Biden. You can never criticize the Democratic Party or Kamala Harris. Absolutely not. You have to 100% be for black people. Never say anything bad about Obama. Absolutely not. Not on this channel. We call it as we see it. I do believe that there's a certain percentage of Candace Owens supporters that go super hard for her, and some of them are delusional, but I don't think that's the majority of her supporters. A lot of us just have common sense, and you're not going to gaslight us, bro. Evan, you and your behavior have been suspicious, bro. Anyways, him and Morgan coordinated together to come out at the same time on Twitter. Morgan is also someone that has been supporting Candace. They came out at the same time to put out these tweets saying that, listen, they support Candace, but they don't believe this Mitch guy. They're not supporting this part of the investigation. They got a lot of pushback on X or Twitter because of this, which Candace Owens 100% can't support what other human beings choose to say on her behalf. She can only speak for herself. Because of this, Evan has now disabled his comment section. You can only comment on his Twitter page now if he follows you or if he mentions you, which is completely crazy. But the girl Morgan is about to join here in a moment, and you're going to hear some of the silly things she's about to say to Candace, and I'm going to respond to it.
I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. I'm never like, you know, for a long time, I've really loved Matt Walsh, but his take, it's like, I don't know. So I think it seemed a little extra to people on the outside. And it was at the same time. And so I messaged her and I was like, you know, I follow you. You could just message me if you thought some part of your story wasn't real. And I sent her some docs about the cartel person. I was like, he sent me so many docs that like his story is real. Like, I don't, you know, this happened. Here are the medals he received. I obviously did my due diligence. And she said, thank you. And then she was sending me a clip of, it was just a clip of Paramount Tactical. And I think she was sending it because she was like, oh, look what his son is saying. But actually, I found it interesting because the son then confirmed the story, like that he was on Fort Huachuca Air Base. Right. And she didn't realize that when she screen recorded, her text messages were coming in from Evan. And he was like saying what he was going to post. So I think it was just honestly an innocent mistake. But I was then like, okay, it looked weird that you both posted this, and now it looks like you're kind of coordinating it. And I think people felt it was coordinated because it's not a natural thing to do. Now, Evan, the reason I say I would separate him is just because like he's just lying. Like he's like this has been debunked. It hasn't been debunked. He's like defending Alex Jones and saying, oh, Alex Jones did say that, you know, you met your husband through PJW. I'm like, no, he didn't say that. So he seems like he's being intentionally dishonest about stuff. She kind of just made one statement. Timing was a bit weird. Yeah, that's kind of how that happened.
Interesting. Okay. And then something else, like with what Evan is claiming, it kind of just reminds me of, there's a man that's coming into prominence, and then you see a bunch of women come out, me too. It's like, okay, maybe maybe he's not correct, maybe he's lying, but he does seem to have more evidence supporting what he's saying than these random disgruntled women. So I'm not saying that it's incorrect, that they're wrong, but I feel like we should be remembering that, hey, this is what these like women do, and the government will get behind them and kind of push them to say these Me Too things to discredit people. So
right. And the thing is and correct me if I'm wrong, but like there were no convictions. So it feels like we're getting involved in somebody's divorce and somebody's like, man, like it's just not my business.
It's always messy.
It's not my business. I'm sorry. And I'm sorry to say that I don't care, but I don't care. I care about who killed Charlie Kirk. I care about whether what he said he saw in Fort Huachuca is real or not. And every other piece of his story checked out. Like I got the military police report. So this just feels like mud, and like I said to Ian, I said, look, if your buddy Gary wants to do Becoming Mitch 9 seasons, let him do it. Everybody has to follow like what is their passionate life. And I was like, I just personally don't care. And so I encourage everybody who is feeling passionately against Mitch to go down that rabbit hole. I am focused on what happened that day, and thus far, nothing Mitch has said to me has not checked out. And even they won't even admit that they lied about some stuff in the past. Like when Ian was contacted, they were like, "It's stolen valor. He wasn't a Green Beret," and then they like casually admitted on their show, "Okay, no, he was a Green Beret." But I'm embarrassed he was a Green Beret because look at these female and their allegations. But we're not going to mention all the allegations that exist with these women.
Like it's just dishonest as you drink yourself into drunkenness for 6 hours straight, sitting there with a person who's been convicted of felonies. It's just mind blowing, bro. Like, do you have any self-awareness? Tone deaf.
That just feels like it does feel like Me Too, and I'm just not interested in it. Morgan just actually jumped on, so I do want to add her as a speaker.
Here we go.
And Morgan, you sort of missed maybe some of this, but I did just sort of run people through what happened and kind of said like I kind of view what you and Evan did to be different, and I think for everybody, it was just sort of the timing of you guys, and the style of needing to announce it, I think was a bit different. And I think that's why you kind of got the reaction that you did. I just wanted to give you the opportunity to have the floor and say what you wanted to. Morgan?
Oh, hi. I didn't know that you were talking to me. I'm sorry. How are you?
Yeah, good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks for giving me the floor because there's been so much freaking drama in the last couple of days, and everybody I feel like has been trying to pit us against one another for some reason. And I keep reiterating, I have no issues with Candace. I am still 100% on board with the investigation. I have my reservations about Mitch, and I feel like I should be able to voice those concerns. And I know that a lot of people don't care about his past or his history, or I don't even want to say only his history, because currently it's my understanding that he does have open cases. But when we're looking at somebody's credibility, how can we find them credible if the only thing that we have to take is their word for something? And right now
it's not just their word. Candace Owens already said she's confirmed the metadata, right? She's checked with other people in the military to confirm a couple of things that he said about his life, about his credentials and things of that sort, and has been confirmed. So everything hasn't been confirmed. Sure, some things are still up in the air, but that's very disingenuous to say only his word. No, Morgan.
He said, she said. He said that he saw people there and we can only take his word for it. And when you have every single person in his life, not only the exes, but his children, who he's never had custody of any of them, they all say the same thing, that he's a pathological liar. I have trouble trusting an individual like that. And I just want to make sure that we stay on track in finding out what happened to Charlie Kirk.
Yeah. And so I think what I would offer back is that's what we have been doing. So rather than speaking to his son, I contacted people on the base, okay, he said that somebody named Neff, which is what he said initially in contacting me, Captain Neff was the one who questioned him. So rather than speaking to his son from 22 years ago, I think the people would say, why don't you speak to somebody who's on Fort Huachuca base now and see if there's a Captain Neff there? And that's what we did. And we confirmed that Captain Neff and the 10th Brigade was there. He said it was in an offsite building, a JTF offsite building. we spoke to people at the base and they told us this is the exact building, here's where it is in the map, and they are borrowing the space. He told us that this incident happened and the bomb dogs were called. So I made an effort and successfully got the police report. That's how we verify whether or not he's a pathological liar, is by verifying what he said, right? And so that's why, as I said before you jumped on, I reached out to the people that were involved. I reached out to Brian Harpole 3 times. He wanted to give an alibi in the sense of like giving flights for 3:42 that afternoon. Okay, so what's stopping you from giving us what you're doing at 7:30 a.m., right? Like that kind of is what's weird. It's like you give half an alibi that doesn't matter, but you don't want to give the full thing. You don't want to just message me and say, hey, just so you know, that wasn't me. So that's what we're actually doing, is trying to verify the last thing, which is just like really his memory. He did tell the truth. He told the truth about everything that happened that morning. And so the last thing is, does he have a good facial memory? And thus far, we've not been able to, and I am in the process, as I said, of speaking with Turning Point USA. We haven't yet gotten a clean answer from people who have indicated that they do want to give an alibi, right? Because Andrew Colvett is messaging Paramount Tactical with an alibi. Well, I'm your girl. I'm the only one I think that's trying to debunk Mitch. Like, right. So I'm like, give me your alibi and I will post it, So, yeah, I think that's
I guess my concern is like, okay, so if they don't provide any alibis, then what happens? Does this just stay open-ended and then it keeps being the main focus?
Well, they did. That's the point. And that's why this is now, that's why I named this Why It Suddenly Really Matters, right? So if they had like kind of stayed out of it and we're like, well, I'm not even going to answer because it's so stupid, then we're like, okay, well, maybe he's just wrong. And that would be what it was. He would just be wrong. He wouldn't be a liar because he was where he said he was, and the people that were there, and Captain Neff was whatever. But they did give an alibi. So they do care. Right? They cared enough to give it to like obscure YouTubers, which is kind of random. Like, it's like, okay, why are you wheeling and dealing? If Andrew Colbert did not get caught live orchestrating an alibi, it shows that Erica cared because she's showing her metadata. So wouldn't the common sense thing to be, if you care that much, rather than going through obscure YouTubers, like, wouldn't you just go direct to Candace and be like, hey, I saw you did an episode on this. Like, here's the information you're looking for.
Of the 4,100 people that's watching right now, wouldn't that make the most sense to do? Hop in the comment section and let me know what you think. Of course, if somebody, one of the biggest podcaster in the world that just so happened to be the friend of your husband, one of the closest friends of your husband, is investigating what happened to him, and it's leading them to believe that you may or may not have had some sort of foreknowledge or played a role, and just debunk it. Wouldn't it make the most sense to do that? Why would you secretly go through Andrew Colvett, who's the spokesperson for TPUSA, who is then secretly going through Gary from Paramount Tactical, who's accidentally exposing text messages that says don't share? It's similar to like the TPUSA Amfest event. When Erica Kirk's iPad didn't work, it's like God is almost working to expose some things for us to follow the breadcrumbs, That's what it comes off like. It's like it was meant for that to happen so that you don't have a speech to read from your iPad. Now you have to wing it, and you're going to slip up and say words like grifter instead of gifter. You're going to slip up and say things like we feel guilty instead of the other words you meant to say. You're going to slip up and say things, or potentially slip up and say things like JD the assassin, right? Like, it's kind of like that. Easily debunk it. Why is Andrew Colvett going through a YouTuber who's the most traction he gets on his videos is when he's making Candace Owens content?
They all have a direct line to me. Like, I would have published it immediately.
Right. I wonder if say Erica does provide something, are people going to be are they going to accept that from her?
I would, and I would end it. Like, that's like, my goal is not to look stupid, right? So like, if she gives me like,
but Morgan, why does the answer to that question even matter? Who cares? Get the information and keep it moving. Who cares what hundreds and millions of people are everybody's going to feel differently. Who cares? Why are you asking that question as somebody that supports the investigation? That makes no sense. Ask other questions. Like, your other question was important, right? If they don't provide this, are we just going to continue to go down this road, or are we going to pivot and just continue? That's a great question, but this question makes no sense to ask, in my opinion.
Like an alibi, and she's like, here's where I was. Like, why would I not just instantly be like, hey, here, like, it wasn't her. Thanks, Mitch. Like, it was a different blonde. Like, we've been very open to that. And I said that 1,000 times on the show. You either have really good memory when you see faces, or you have a bad memory like I do when I see faces. I don't know Mitch, so I don't know, but he was pretty detail oriented about the watch and little things. And I think beyond anything else, the reaction when Andrew Colvett is wheeling and dealing behind the scenes, it then makes things really compelling, right? If he didn't get caught on that live, I probably would be neutral. I mean, I did one episode on this. Everybody's acting like I've done like Becoming Brigitte. You know what I mean? Like, we've been investigating the Charlie thing. We've covered so many things. I do one episode on Mitch, and everyone's like, no, like, we gotta talk to his high school classmates. We gotta talk. It's like, dude, like, like, everybody calm down. I'm getting threats of lawsuits in the background. So, like, Ian was like, you know, I got to talk to you before your next episode, is what his text was, because they were putting pressure on him to get me to stop reporting on this. They didn't.
Which is weird. But hey, everybody, just read this comment real fast, and we're going to get back to the video, I promise. What is what is their evidence to support? A lot of theories, but not a lot of evidence of anything. People like this clearly have not been following everything that's happened. Just saying silly things like this. What do you call evidence, bro? What they call evidence, everybody, and I want to expose people like this. What they call evidence is you have to absolutely have audio footage or audio recording, video recording. And not only that, but you have to have their fingerprints. But not only that, they have to absolutely admit to playing every single role. But even then, because they could have been forced to say it, you have to get 15 alibis that saw them there. And then we have to make sure that every last one of those alibis is credible. Then we have to make sure that we have enough proof that the alibi, the reason why they said they unalived this person, that is actually factual, that is credible. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? That's not how investigations work. And when Myron Gaines joins, and you hear, as somebody who used to be a part of the feds, that being Myron Gaines, he's going to give you how it works behind the scenes, and it's going to make more sense as to why what Candace is doing makes perfect sense. This is typically how investigations go.
They didn't want me to even interview Mitch. So I just find that to be compelling. Like, what is this panic about? Especially because you could end it in 4 seconds by just messaging me and being like, here you go.
Yeah, well, they never are forthcoming. I mean, that's the problem with Turning Point this far.
Yeah.
And they could put a lot of things to rest, but they keep gaslighting. So
Yeah.
hopefully they do. I still
I
don't
hope so
trust
too.
Mitch, but that's just where I'm at with it. And yeah,
Yeah,
thank you.
that's fine. Yeah, and I want to say, like, I'm totally chill with that. Like, I, by the way, like, if I was running like the Bachelor show, I would get it. Like, you know, but I'm not asking people to marry Mitch. I'm asking people to trust me enough to have done my due diligence to tell you that he was where he says he was. And
I do
yeah,
want to interject and
and
say I do
so,
believe that he's there, that he was
but
there.
what
I
I
mean,
can't figure out for what other reason, because he didn't ask to come on my show. He didn't ask me for money. Like, he literally had his friend send me an email saying, like, this is something that you should know. And then I asked him to come on the show, and then I randomly live said, you know, I wanted to raise money, and then he, which you missed, Morgan, said to me, I don't want the money, the very next morning, and said, if the tip ends up working and it helps you solve the murder of Charlie, then sure. But I don't, you know, I'm not in this for money. I'm just like a fat old ugly guy. So, like, the whole idea of him doing this for money or doing this for fame just doesn't jive with the facts of how it all came about, you know? So for me, obviously I'm the one that's in the center dealing with him. Yeah, do I think he's like paranoid? Do I believe that he probably hasn't been like the number one father in life? Sure. That's just not my business, you know? It's genuinely not my business.
yeah, I don't know. I try to look at things from a biblical lens, and you know, you have to judge people by their fruit, and if all your fruit is rotten, then I have trouble believing anything that you have to say.
Yeah, but I also think that you should judge the women the same way, you know, because they
Yeah,
had
but if they're
backgrounds
all,
too.
if there's a bunch, if everybody's saying the same thing and it's just
Yeah.
one person, like, you're not the victim.
I didn't say it was big. I'm just saying that, like, you know,
No,
if
no,
you know where I'm at on the Harvey Weinstein stuff. Like, there were like 3,000 women, and I don't think he raped a single one. So I don't accept that argument. Like, I think we just disagree on the Me Too
yeah,
stuff.
but he's like a nobody. That's different than Harvey Weinstein.
You come from saying that it's about biblical. You come from a biblical perspective, and now you're saying that the dude Mitch is a nobody. If you're a so-called Christian follower of Christ, everybody is a somebody. How dare you call a human being a nobody because they weren't rich and famous and known by millions of people? Everybody is important in their own right because everybody has a shot at getting salvation and trying to get to heaven. Everybody was created and stitched in their mother's womb by the Most High. Calling somebody as a nobody is crazy work. It's also just factually incorrect to do it because say like my channel. By the grace of God, probably by tomorrow, I'll actually hit, which is a very ironic, the day before, a day and a half before the new year, I'll be hitting 200,000 subscribers only due to you all. Thank you so much for that ahead of time. But if my channel was, God forbid, deleted today, am I a nobody now? Or like, how does that work? Do I have to like recreate a new YouTube channel, rebuild it back up, and then I'm somebody again? Like, how does that work? No, everybody's somebody. I did that. That was so, that came off as so conceited, you know, so I don't know, privileged to say that.
Oh, I just think, I don't know. I just like to hear both sides of a story when it comes to like allegations against men, whether they're famous or not. I just think it's like, I'm pretty
Right.
like even on that stuff. I always have to hear both sides, but like I didn't even want to care. I didn't want to hear me about his ex-wife. I didn't want to hear her side about him. It's just not my business. But thank you, Morgan. And I hope that clarifies everything. And like, you know, I'm glad that you're a part of the conversation and you have every right not to believe Mitch.
Yeah, thank you. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see. Mel.
Definitely a big fan of this one. What evidence do we have that Charlie is none? He's 100% alive. Anybody that has that perspective, you're not getting any pushback on me until I see proof. All right. I'm just holding it out as a possibility. But let's continue.
Would you like to jump into the foray?
Yes, thank you so much for having me real quick. So I just want to say, you know, I get everybody's kind of hesitation with Mitch, having been married to a Green Beret, having been around the military my entire life. I have seen all of this, all of it. Okay. So I was a lot like you, Candace. I was like, I actually don't care. I don't care about any of the background, anything like that. All I know is that this man has made very specific allegations against very specific people with a time and a date. This is very easy to debunk. Very easy, right? He actually, in a way, set you up that could have made you look like a fool. And now we are about 2 weeks out, and these people are, again, using random YouTubers, funneling weird, bizarre alibis, kind of quasi non denials through these weirdos, right? And we haven't gotten to the thing, to the just, hey, all you have to do is say straightforward, I was not there. I was not in Franchise County on this date at this time. This is not complicated. And again, Candace Owens is not a random person, okay? She's just not. She's not somebody with a small following. So people can say, well, they don't have to answer her. Well, that's fine, but they clearly care. Okay.
Right.
And when you have a large following and you get accused, or not even accused, because Candace hasn't accused, but when this comes up on someone's huge following, you answer it. You just do.
Right.
Okay. If you have an easy alibi, you just freaking do. I'm so sick of this pretending like, well, I don't have to answer all of that.
Right.
No, you do. Okay. Sorry, but you do. Because you guys have been weird about everything from the get-go.
Right.
Okay. And everything about Charlie's murder is weird. Okay. I think weird is the one word that we can all agree on.
Right.
Right. And now I have looked into the NAR and Turning Point Faith and just the shadiness, the total shadiness surrounding this organization, which again is not its own organization. It is, in fact, an appendage of TPUSA, which means it is TPUSA. It's not like TPUSA Action, which is its own organization. I don't really quite grasp the significance of that, of TPUSA Faith being an appendage of TPUSA. But so I know all of the like shenanigans that they've been involved in. So when I heard about this originally, I was like, yeah, that sounds about right. Now, I don't quite know what that meeting means. I know Harrison wants some very hard, like, he wants us to make allegations, and
he wants us to make a mistake, you know, more than anything else.
Well, I don't hold on. Why would I want you
here? Like, you know, like
why would I want you to make a mistake?
I don't know if you want,
because of how you. What are you talking about? Don't start the gaslighting, dude. You know why? You're sounding like you're just waiting for them to do something wrong, so that you can say, "Look, see, there's nothing here. They don't know what they're talking about. They were wrong." Why are you doing that? Are you trying to help or not? If not, just like Nate from Violet, get out the way then. If this is a dead end, let us reach the dead end and it goes nowhere. You know exactly why people would be led to believe that.
me to make a mistake, but I know you have pressed pretty hard for I want you to make a definitive statement, and nobody's ready to make that. Actually,
Right.
here's what I know. These are the things I know. I presented those to you last night, and then you came back at me with what? So you're going to accuse me of being paid for, which was really bizarre to me because I felt like I was pretty patient and not accusatory at all. Regardless, I'm not even going to go into that. But
Well, okay,
no.
I'll go into it for a second. You said that I was pretending to forget that Charlie Kirk was moving away from Israel, and I was saying the weird thing was by me saying, "Look, I don't get what this whole meeting is even supposed to be about, or why it would be suspicious, or how it connects to the assassination in any way whatsoever," and that is somehow extrapolated to be I somehow think that the official story of Charlie Kirk's murder is true. I'm saying,
no, bro, no. What we're saying is, and why you're looking suspicious, rightfully so looking suspicious, is that the information is that we're led to believe that Brian Harpo, who was responsible for protecting the life of Charlie Kirk, was a part of some meeting that Turning Point USA allegedly doesn't even know existed. They claim to not know that some meeting was taking place the day before. It's come out that a person said that they allegedly saw the head of security, one of the members of security, assigned to protect Charlie Kirk's life, a part of some secret meeting the day before Charlie Kirk was allegedly pow-powed? You don't think that's suspicious? Okay.
I don't think
didn't say that.
If you don't know, Harrison, then you can just keep watching the show. Like, you're not required to, like,
Bingo.
like, if you're not sure where it's going to go, like, that's kind of the point of just, like, we're all kind of investigating this together. You know what I mean? We've been crowdsourcing this investigation. We have smaller pieces, and the smaller pieces become bigger pieces. You know, do I know what it means that there are these, like, little flecks of what looks like there's plastic on the ground of the vehicle that Charlie was carried in after? No. It could mean somebody smashed their phone. It could mean somebody smashed their sunglasses. It could be one of the theories is like, oh, look, the ADSB exploded. I don't know. You're like demanding. What is it? It's like, I don't know. I just got the picture, man. Like, you know, and so I think your energy is just frankly, and I'm not trying to be judgmental, but like, it's a little lame, I guess is a nice way to say it. It's just pretty lame to like try to put this like unnecessary pressure or make it seem like it's weird that we have questions about why Brian Harpole would be at an intel base if he's actually there. Like, what do you get? What do you mean? It's giving Ben Shapiro, you know? You never want to give Ben Shapiro. Just wait. You just want to wait and like see where it lands. If I start making allegations that are factually untrue, or if I don't recant something, if I go somewhere and it ends up being a dead end, then I would understand that energy. Like if like, you know, Erica did hand me her perfect alibi, and I was like, well, I'm not going to say it because I just want to put it out there. But I was actually really hesitant to put Mitch on the show because I wanted, he was like 100% certain it was Erica. He was 100% certain it was Brian Harpole, you know? But I wanted to be very careful about how I went about things. And so I think that we just don't appreciate like people that actually care and are standing up to the feds right now, unnecessarily being sort of tossed to the wolves by like your perspective, which is like, if you don't have a perfect narrative and it's not neat and buttoned down, then don't speak. Like, no, guys, keep speaking, keep asking questions. And if you're on this, like listening right now, you're going to get things wrong, and that's okay. Just you have the courage to say you're wrong. And that's what I do. I always do that. I just say, you know what? I thought this, it's actually wrong. Let's pivot.
okay, I mean, I don't know where you're getting this idea that I'm saying don't do research or anything like that. I am confused why it's been a week of talking about this meeting and I still am not even
You guys been talking about it.
it's been
I've been off air for 8 days. Like,
it's been 3 months. I know,
like,
but it's been
I know for 8 days. You guys have been on InfoWars calling me a fraud, this, that, saying my husband's an MI6. Like, what do you mean? Why is this a conversation? Because you won't let it go. I had him on the show. That was it. You know, we were investigating things behind the scenes, like, you know, reaching out, like he had already reached out to people for alibis before I even had him on. You know, like, hey, this guy said this, whatever. And then all of a sudden you guys every day are obsessing over it and making up lies. Like, you guys are the reason it's big. Like, respectfully, like, this is the work of you and Alex Jones and Paramount Tactical and Baby Mamas from 2000s. Like, you know, you guys made it a thing. You guys made fetch,
As a
you know
friend
what
of
I mean?
can I hop in and mediate real quick with
Yeah.
because I think, firstly, I think that a lot of people come at this journalism from different angles because, and obviously I can't speak for either of you, but Harrison does more of reporting on what's already happened, and Candace tends to make her career out of reporting on trying to figure out what is the next end of the story. And you guys, you both stray into both lanes. But also I want to draw the distinction that Harrison has not been making all the same claims as Alex all the time. Alex is definitely a distinct voice from Harrison, and I've always really respected Harrison. I'm not saying that I actually disagree with him on this take, but I do think that he's not the whole InfoWars crew, and the whole InfoWars crew isn't Alex Jones. And Harrison's reporting hasn't been the same as Alex this whole time.
Right.
But also, I think there might be a little bit of coming at investigations from different angles from the nature of the journalism that you guys both do.
Yeah.
Okay, but I think we've been pretty fair. Personally, I definitely have been fair as far as like not conflating Harrison and Alex, and for like reasons I can't, because I feel like I've been pretty straightforward about why I think the Huachuca thing is important. I do think that things were happening behind Charlie's back.
Yeah.
We know that he delegated a lot. So even if you don't think like, oh, this is, and again, I actually don't think this was a like murder planning session. I actually think that personally, and I'm going to just throw it out there, I think that something happened in Korea. I think that there were weird things that happened in Korea. We do know that Pastor Son was arrested the day after Charlie leaves Korea. I think that there were some weird things that were going on, and I think that Charlie wanted to maybe step back from the role that PUSA Faith was playing in this kind of global foreign policy, forward apparatus that his organization was being used for.
And by the way, I can tell you guys that like Rob McCoy and Charlie did not love Rob McCoy. That whole speech about him being his pastor, he had voiced his concerns about Rob McCoy. And so again, the broader consideration here is that Turning Point USA is just telling a lot of lies, and you don't tell a lot of lies. The whole world got behind Turning Point USA.
I'm with you on this comment. I'm sick of the fence riding at this point. Me too. Pick a side, bro. Pick a side don't mean like you definitively know what happened or not, but nah, like I understand trying to de-escalate stuff, but I'm nah, bro. Harrison is giving that dude is odd. It's odd. Inserting yourself into somebody else's investigation because you're upset what they're choosing to look into makes no sense.
Probably got shot. Like there wasn't a single person who was not rooting for Turning Point USA on September 11th. Okay. And now we're at a place where it actually feels like the whole world is rooting against Turning Point USA, right? Well, the TikTokers are not liking Erica. The people online are not liking Erica. They feel like, I'm sorry, but are we going to pretend that whole ass thing wasn't just like weird? Like we're popping up tents of like where somebody died. Like, I don't know. Right. That's weird. And so, yeah, let's respect the public that we're recognizing something's off, and we want to know what it is that is off. And Andrew Colvett is definitely off. Okay. Like he is like off the chains. There have been just way too many lies. And
no, that was 100% Ian, bro. Sam hasn't spoken yet. Sam Parker is going to speak here in a moment, and he's going to give a very refreshing take, especially after listening to somebody like Harrison. But that was definitely Ian Carroll.
There would be no reason to lie when you have the whole world on your side rooting for you. Why are you lying?
Well, since you mentioned Andrew Colvett, Candace, if I may jump in.
This is Sam Parker.
And, and to address Harrison, and one of the things that I remember that I keep in mind throughout this entire investigation is in an investigation, details matter. But you don't know what details matter until you investigate them.
Bingo.
Right.
And when this, and as an outside observer on this particular story, the Fort Huachuca story, all of a sudden I've been airdropped this detail that one of the top members of Charlie Kirk's security detail is at an Army intelligence base the day before Charlie's assassinated. Now, that's a detail. I don't know what it means. I don't know if it means anything. I don't know if it's important or not important, but that's a detail. That is a definite detail because Brian Harpole's job is to protect Charlie Kirk.
Right.
That's his job. That's his job as one of the top members of this security detail is to protect Charlie Kirk, who the next day was assassinated. So, like, this is an important detail. What is one of the top members of the security detail doing at an Army intelligence base the day before? It might not mean anything, but maybe it means something. What does it mean? I don't know. I have to investigate it. Now, how does Andrew Colvett come into this? I'm reminded of the fact that he told you, Candace, that you and Tucker were on some list and possibly in danger. Well, so now I'm thinking in my mind, well, maybe he was at some sort of security briefing. Maybe they had some intel that people were in danger. Maybe that's what he was doing there. Like, I don't know, but
Right.
it has to be investigated. It has to be sussed out. It could mean something. It might not mean anything. But just to address Harrison, and I like Harrison. Harrison's been good to me. No problem with him there. So that's what I'm just, from my own perspective as an outside observer, I've been airdropped this story, this detail, which has now mushroomed. It's like a big mushroom cloud now for several days. It's run wild, people on all sides fighting over it. It's become a thing. And now I have to grapple with this thing. Does it mean anything? Does it not mean anything? How can I verify it? And I'm at the mercy of Mitch's recollection. I'm at the mercy of the TPUSA folks, Erica, Cabot, and Brian Harpole. And I'm faced with a situation now where they've turned it into something bigger than it needed to be, if indeed it is nothing. If it's nothing, all they had to do was debunk it. And not only that, but like they could have like slam dunked the ball in your face, Candace, and made you look silly and stupid. And they left that money on the table.
Right.
And for the people who said, well, I'm not going to they don't need to dignify this. They already dignified this by giving half-assed non-debunking debunkings. I didn't ask them to do that. They did that. They made this more important and relevant than it needed to be.
Do you know how refreshing it is to listen to somebody with such common sense? Just so well said. Like Sam just got straight to the point, said everything most normal human beings that assess the situations are thinking. It's so refreshing that in 2025, common sense is not so common anymore. That was so refreshing. I want to tip him. After hearing what he just said, I want to take some of this money that y'all just gave me in super chats and send them $50. That's just how much I appreciated the common sense he just said. After you listening to people like Harrison, where just and more, it's like it make your brain twitch. Like, huh? I want to understand. It's all right to be critical. It's all right to be hesitant, and it's all right to be that way. But make sense. I need to understand where you're coming from with this. Harrison not making sense, but what? Watch. He's about to get pressed about his tweet that he's really not talked about since he put it out.
I didn't ask for them to do that. So now, as an outside observer, I have to grapple with like, okay, you made it bigger than it had to be. Like, what does that mean? I don't know if it means anything, but now it's a thing. Now it's a thing that I have to deal with.
That is how everyone feels. Like you are voicing exactly how everybody feels. We didn't know what it was going to lead to. And I was like, I mean, I couldn't have been more deferential in saying that this could literally lead to nothing, but like, because of this weird prayer and the way it came in, I think that we should follow it. The reaction has now made this feel so crucial. And it, again, why you do not need to wheel and deal behind the scenes, Andrew Colvat. And if Erica, as she did, is going to hand me Brian Harp's alibi, then they care to clarify it, right? If you care to clarify his alibi, then get the rest of his alibi, right? Well, what is the halfway? Here's his flights for the evening or the late afternoon, but we don't know about 7:30. And I did ask that question, by the way. That just reminds me, I asked that to Turning Point USA when I had the conversation on the phone yesterday. I said, what's up with Brian Harpole? I've messaged. I'm happy to like debunk this, but this guy is certain he saw Brian Harpole. And they said, they told me that there was no, but basically the relationship between Brian Harpole and them had soured. That's what they told me. And they didn't just tell me that yesterday. I want to be clear. They also told me that when I sat across from Erica on the 15th.
Did y'all just hear that? The relationship between Brian Harpole and TPUSA has allegedly soured. That's even more reason to be concerned. Not only if you're Harrison, who seems to not understand why this angle is important when you're looking into the behaviors and the whereabouts of the security detail the day before everything happened, but this should be concerning if you're Turning Point USA. You should be helping Candace. You shouldn't be going through, YouTubers who are trying to discredit the story. You should be trying to figure out what Brian Harpole was too. Incredible, man. Absolutely incredible.
So there's not open communication right now between Brian Harpole and Turning Point USA. Yet they did feel it necessary to give his flights for the 15th. Well, if your perspective, and if I'm Turning Point USA and I'm going, okay, well, he's not answering this question, don't you think they should want to know if he was there that morning? Like, shouldn't they be like, hey, like, where the heck were you? You were on our payroll, actually, and you were supposed to be with us. And so now we require to know where you were.
Let me just say this, and I'm going to stop reading comments. I promise y'all. Somebody said, I don't know why this showed up in my feed to watch, but this is hilarious. Candy, You know, that's a ad hominem people do when they don't like Candace. They call her Candy. Candy and Erica are both controlled op and same religion and friends. LOL. This is only a distraction from New World Order moving in behind the scenes. Now, listen, I understand that you mean well, and that's typically what we discuss on this channel. And I don't absolutely disregard that being a possibility. But like anything else with investigations, I follow the evidence. Now, when you say this is a distraction, the problem is people can be distracted but still notice what's happening, right? I encourage my followers all the time to keep up with the politics and things that's happening in the world. Just because somebody is doing an investigation on their podcast and on their Twitter account, there's millions of people that don't watch this woman's show, respectfully. So it's bigger than that. When you really know it's a huge distraction is when the news is sharing it. Wow, not because podcasts are more popular than the news is nowadays. But the point is, if they want you to be distracted by something, there are other methods. And if you've been following PsyOps the way that I have for years, then you know it's more than just what somebody decides to talk about on their podcast, respectfully. I understand that you mean well, and I know that they do use things to distract us, but I think this is a little bit more than that. I do believe that. When you say controlled op and same religion, you got to be more specific on what you mean by same religion, right? But let's continue.
And so there's also this nonstop lack of urgency with Turning Point USA, a lack of caring. Like they almost think like the details are funny. They don't care. I think that's how the public feels. They certainly don't care.
Right.
About any of this. Like, why else would you have a tent? Like, it's quite morbid. It felt like a seance to see that tent up and people taking selfies under it. And I think that that disturbs people. I think that there has been something spiritually disturbing about a lot of the decisions and communications that have been coming out of Turning Point USA.
See what I'm saying? Like she's noticing the same things that we're noticing. She also mentions Freemasonry. You're not going to be talking about those things if you're trying to help distract people and lead people in the wrong direction. Respectfully, I'm not saying Candace Owens is a saint and everybody should follow her like Jesus. No, she is a wretched sinner just like the rest of us are, and all of us deserve hell, just what it is. And it's only by the grace of the Most High that we have a chance not to make it there. But the point that I'm making is you don't point out these sort of deals. When you have a tent, a Charlie Kirk tent, that is literally the tent, and what I mean by literally the tent is the identical design from that specific day at UVU. Why would you have that? If you're his widow or his wife or whoever, and you cared about Charlie, you're not gonna have that there. That's like a freaking what do you call it? It's like some sort of ritual, man. That's weird. That's not the things that you do. And the fact that Candace is pointing out the very thing that us regular human beings all feel and notice when we see something like that, that people like Ben Shapiro, Officer Tatum, Matt Walsh, they won't call it out. They won't pretend like this is strange. They won't say that this is in some levels demonic. Candace is doing it. You got to give credit where it's due. Now, if Candace ever leads us in the wrong direction later on, I'm going to call her out for it. But for right now, if she's saying all the things that all of us humans are agreeing with and already feeling on our own, then you have to give credit where it's due.
So thank you, Sam, because I think that you really just hit the nail on the head there in terms of why this suddenly feels very important when we were all willing to accept. I did one episode on this, guys.
So I'm going to just say this one more time and I'm going to stop interrupting it. I'm just going to say, just so we're clear on this, I'm going to repeat this. If Candace Owens or anyone else for that matter ever led us in the wrong direction, I'm going to call them out. You will not see me blindly follow anyone on this channel. If they lead us in the wrong direction and I'm suspicious of it, I'm going to tell you all like, nah, something's up here. Something's up here, y'all. Watch what they're doing. I feel like somebody's forcing them to do this. I don't know why they would say that. That doesn't make sense. You know?
It wasn't like crazy.
I'm not married to this, Candace. I'm not married to this guy. I'm not married to this theory. Like, if it's nothing, then it's nothing, right?
Yeah.
And I still suspect that there's a good chance there's a really good chance it could be nothing. And I'm going to need really big receipts to believe it.
Right.
But if Brian Harpole's job is to protect Charlie, which he failed at, by the way, let's just be real honest, he failed. The team failed. They failed. If I'm TPUSA, how did you guys fail this? And if Brian Harpole's attention was split, or he was elsewhere, his head was elsewhere, he was going to meetings elsewhere, he's doing other stuff, I want to know that.
Right. I totally agree. Myron, I'm going to let you jump in here too. I see your hand is raised.
Yeah, sure. Can you guys hear me good, or am I coming in? Yeah, so I'll be very brief here. We're all here for the same reason, right? We all don't believe the official narrative. As someone that used to work for the federal government and understands how investigations work, the official narrative has created more questions than answers. And Candace, kudos to you for going out there and trying to find those answers. And I think it's very important that people understand that when you're doing investigations, you're going to go down many different roads, right? You're going to talk to bad informants that might have ulterior motives. You're going to talk to people that are going to give you misleading information. You're going to do a records check here and it might lead you somewhere that was completely not relevant to what's going on. Like, the thing that sucks here is that you're doing this investigation with millions of people watching you and they're going to, try to say, oh, well, you didn't do this and you didn't do that, blah, blah, blah. The benefit, right, of being a criminal investigator a lot of the times is we work in the shadows, we do our investigation, we go down many different holes, then we come down with an indictment and an arrest warrant after we connect everything. Unfortunately, right, for you, Candace, you have a bunch of critics that want to sit there and say, well, you're not doing this right, you're not doing that right. I think you've done a great job of, trying to find the truth, and people are going to criticize and talk shit. And I think we're all here for the same reasons. The official narrative doesn't add up. They haven't been transparent. And that's why people are doing their own independent investigation. And the federal government's failed with being transparent with the people, and the people don't trust the government anymore. This is really an L for the G. So keep doing what you're doing. I know people are going to hate, and I think your heart's in the right place, and you're really trying to find answers here. And yeah, there's going to be, roads that sometimes don't lead where it's supposed to go, or roads that may be questionable. But I think talking to everybody and trying to get the full picture and being transparent about it is the way to go. So keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you so much.
And that makes a lot of sense because just for perspective, that's Myron Gaines. Myron Gaines, who is one of the most openly largest anti-Israel voices in politics, or I should say in social media, in content creators, in the content creating space, right? He's been open about it. From my understanding, he's currently and has been for some time demonetized on YouTube because he openly speaks about all the things from his theories and his beliefs about I'm not even going to say it, but September the 11th, if you follow my drift, all the different things in which he believes that country may have played a role in, from the USS Liberty, and the list goes on, right? So I'm sharing it to say that he wasn't, I'm willing to bet that Myron Gaines wasn't the biggest fan of Charlie Kirk in that regard. He probably agreed with Charlie. I'm sure he agreed with Charlie's politics elsewhere. But most of us wasn't with Charlie Kirk in that regard. And a lot of us had a lot of disdain for Charlie Kirk because of it, because it was just unbearably unbelievable how pro that foreign nation he was, despite everything that's been coming out about their actions, right? So the fact that he's saying this and wanting to figure out the bottom of it tells you, like, this is not political. This is about justice, right? Which is part of the reason I'm so invested in it. When I see something that seems like a cover-up, now my mind is working. Now I'm invested. Now I'm trying to figure it out, right? I don't like when somebody get one over on me. I want to figure it out too. This is a mystery, right? It just so happened to be real life. And I'm just one of the people that also entertains the possibility that the man is alive. If that gets debunked, cool. We keep it moving. We entertain other theories. But all things are on the table for me until all things are disproven, right?
Appreciate that. And yeah, it's hard. I mean, we have a really small team. I think people forget, like, there's 4 of us and it's so much work, and we're investigating every lead, and there have been so many that have led nowhere, by the way. I mean, you can imagine you're getting 50,000 emails, and some people just want to write hate stuff. Some people are giving you tips, and we're building those pictures in the backgrounds. We have so many leads that are still being worked on from a long time ago, and we have to get on the phone with people, and we have to ask for verification, and we have to get when we get paperwork, we then have to verify if the paperwork is real, because I don't have expertise. And then I present something and I misspeak and I say E4 instead of O5 or O6, whatever. And the next thing you know, you get 1,000 emails of people telling you, like, you're an idiot. It's hard. And people also, I think, forget, and this is not like a woe is me pity party, but, like, Charlie was my friend. Like, I went through a very real stage of grief. I'm still going through it in many ways because I don't know what happened. Like, there's something that feels very unresolved about it. And he just shouldn't have been taken out like that. Okay. And their anger, which I think you guys have seen that last week or whatever, like, to see people like Ben Shapiro get on stage and pretend they were his friend. Like, you don't know what that does to me spiritually. Like, I just want to fight. Like, I want to physically get into a fight. That is, like, it's just not okay. And there's something that is so grotesque about it at its core. There is something that it's almost satanic, right? I look at politics now and it makes me want to vomit. Like, to realize what they turned him into after. Like, they did not view this man as a human being. They did not care about Charlie at all. It was like he either was going to get them a check or he wasn't. And that, even for me, like, the ick I get from turning points, like, that man did not like that man. So what are you doing? Is this really just about like who writes you a check and gives you, like they can just buy a friendship with Charlie? Like it angers me, and I still have to like contend with that anger, that upset, and also trying to, okay, let me divert my energy into this investigation and trying to figure it out. So I do ask you guys to just recognize that, like to recognize that there's a lot going on. And I will always, if I get something wrong, which is what I was open to doing, like I said to Ian, I was like, if you want to send me an email and he has the smoking gun proof that he wasn't even a Green Beret, I will run it and I will own it. But that's not the case. And so it just feels like petty. Like if you're going to use your energy, like we don't need you finding his exes, man. Like we really could use your help. Like,
Right.
like
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
look, professional criminal investigators don't get it right a lot of the times. There's a reason why a lot of cases don't get solved. People don't get indicted, they don't get charged. It's not easy to run an investigation. It's even harder to do it with a million people trying to Monday morning quarterback everything that you do and criticize every single thing that you do. So I totally understand coming from that world myself. So look, you're trying to find the truth. I think you've been good about transparent. Like if you make a mistake, you correct it. And one of the negatives is you're out there in front of everyone, so people are going to give their
yeah.
opinions, and that's the negative.
Yep, you're right. Ryan, we'll go to you and then we'll go to Diligent Denizen.
Yeah, no, I just want to tell you, thank you, Candace, for everything that you're doing. We all appreciate, at least one person out there that
You
seems
too,
like they want to
Ryan.
find the
You've been
truth.
crushing it. You've been absolutely crushing it.
Well, thank you. And I think that the thing that upsets, I think, most Americans is the fact that you're doing the job that we expect Turning Point to be doing, right? Like this was Charlie's organization, and you're the one out here asking the questions, and they're almost seem like they're just content with whatever Fed slop narrative we get, and they're ready to move on and get the party started and go on to the next event and the next whatever. And it makes me feel anyways like that Turning Point and the amount of people that are going after and attacking you for trying to just find answers makes me think that Turning Point's something much bigger, that it feels like it's a giant money laundering operation, that it's a political machine, and that Charlie was just a pawn.
And for those of you that don't know, Ryan, his full name is, I see some of you are asking who is Ryan. Ryan Mata is his full name. If you just joined this live, I said earlier, I love his content. You can find him on X. I believe that's his main platform, maybe on Rumble. I don't use Rumble as much, but I find him I go to X to get to his content. Incredible guy, man. He has his voice is very easy to listen to, right? I just feel like even some people who are good, who mean well, may not have the easiest voices to listen to. I don't know where I fall in that category for you all, but he has one of those voices that is very calm, is very soothing. And the guy is he's just a common sense guy, a no BS guy. He wants to get to the truth. You're not going to gaslight him. You're not going to guilt trip him. Right. And I feel like he and I share that. We have that in common with each other, so very good, very, very good channel to go and follow.
Right, that he almost didn't even know everything that was going on within his own organization. It got way too big for one man to follow everything. And some shady shit seems like it was going on behind the scenes. And I think there's a lot of key players that were involved in some shady shit that are they're incentivized to just kind of sweep this under the rug and buy the Fed slop narrative because they don't want any attention shined on whatever shady shit that they were doing. And I think that's why Charlie was putting Doge together. And I'll end it there.
And I got a really big tip on that Doge investigation. I think there was something there. I think if this pans out, and it looks like it is panning out, Charlie discovered that there was a lot of money that was missing.
Oh, wow. I don't think we've had anybody to admit that up until this point. Not this close to home. Charlie actually found millions of dollars missing. Found that some funds were missing. Now that is interesting. That is interesting.
And again, I'm trying to encourage this person to speak out. So again, one of the balls that's been in the air that I've been slowly working on, but I think all of our instincts have been correct. There's a lot more to ETI, and there's just been a lot of people that have been basically saying to us, these cheap tactics, to even question anything means that like you are not you have to just accept.
Sorry, guys, I'm making it work with everything.
Myron, you got to turn yourself off. Your mute on. I can mute your mic. Actually, that's a great ad. Yeah. So it definitely feels really weird. Diligent. Let's go to you, Diligent Denizen.
Thank you. Yeah.
And I believe that Diligent, I could be wrong here, but I believe Diligent is going to be the one that's about to call out Harrison as to why he hasn't revealed his source or why he hasn't pushed the issue that someone told him a month before that something would happen to Charlie. I think this is where it's about to take place.
What bothers me the most about this whole thing is the lack of curiosity. Like here we are all citizen journalists. Every single person on this stage right now describes themselves as a journalist in some way, shape, or form, right? There's no curiosity, right? Like when did we say Well, here's a good example. Harrison, you posted 2 weeks before Charlie Kirk died that there was a credible threat against his life.
Right.
Has the FBI reached out to you to ask you about that?
No.
Also,
No.
like,
Very weird.
are you going to tell us who that was? It feels like that might be relevant now.
Yeah, so in the absence of a rigorous investigation by the agency, we are led to lead this investigation. That is why Fort Huachuca is so relevant. But I was going to ask you, thank you, Candace. Can you tell us who told you that? Because the
No.
I's not asking you.
Yeah, I mean, the person that told me asked me not to say who they were, so I'm not going to give up a source. Sorry.
Okay, that's fine. Well, then, in the absence of answers and a rigorous investigation, we are led to do that ourselves. So,
Well, hold up. Okay, cool. I respect that. You told them that you would keep them anonymous, and you're keeping your word. I can honor that. Here's the problem, though. What are you doing with the information? Right? You know who told you that. Don't you? Wouldn't you find that person suspicious, or wouldn't you find the person that, because you said it was secondhand? So when you find whoever they're involved with or affiliated with suspicious, right? Because I'm not gonna lie, it's not as if you're pushing the Fed slop. It's not as if you're saying what the Feds is saying is true. No, you question the Feds too, but you should have more of a better angle of the direction we should be looking based on the person that told you that, right? So even if you're not willing to give the source for good reason, fine. Can you help us look in the right direction?
every credible piece of evidence that we have to follow, every trail should be exhausted before we say, oh, well, this ain't worth it. And I have seen far more energy put into discrediting this Fort Huachuca witness than I have for people actually looking into the claim itself. Like
Right.
Candace said earlier, she actually called people at the base to verify whether or not the events occurred. Was he there at that time? Where did it happen at, etc. But I see all of these people, it's almost like it's coordinated,
Yeah.
right? All of these people on the same 2 days come out and say, oh, don't listen to this guy. They apply labels. Do you know why we apply labels to people? That way you stop listening to them. Oh,
That's a fact. So let I want to make sure I say this. Let me just say for the record, I believe that Harrison Smith's source, I believe, is Andrew COVID. Yep. I believe it's Andrew COVID. It would make the most sense. He's the one that's been telling people all these things behind the scenes. He's the one that told Candace Owens that her and Tucker were next. I believe it's Andrew COVID. 100%.
what he says doesn't matter anymore because he's an abuser.
Allegedly. I believe it's Andrew COVID, allegedly. The guy's an abuser, allegedly, Mitch.
Because he's
Right.
a fraud, because he's this, because he's that, right?
Yeah.
Far more effort into discrediting that witness than there has actually been into validating the information that he's been given.
By the way, the
That
best way to discredit him is to debunk his story. Like, it's like, so I'm like, why don't you focus on this? You can act. Do you hate men? Do you hate who he is as a human being? Do you believe he's a pathological liar? How about proving that something that he told us was a pathological lie? Like, doesn't that just make sense? Like,
zero convictions. All of the
yeah,
people saying that he was a fraudster, that he was an abuser, whatever. I couldn't find one record, criminal record
there was
of
no
him being
convictions.
convicted.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah,
You
yeah,
do,
I
right?
couldn't find it either. They were showing no convictions. It was he said, she said. I mean, just like full character assassination.
A
And like,
one-sided divorce court that
yeah,
he didn't get to tell his piece in. Isn't
it was
that
very Me
interesting?
Too. It was very Me Too. I'm sorry to say it. And like when grown men are doing the Me Too shit, I just have no energy for it. I'm just like, all right, guys, like, cool, thumbs up. Like, I'm glad you found like his classmates in middle school or whatever. But like, could you use some of that male energy towards actually, like, if you think he's all of these things, the best thing to do would be like help us prove that he's lying on the thing that we care about, which is
Yo, that is, bro. If I cursed, I would say that what she just said is BADASS. That was straight up BADASS. As I say with my friends, I have them to say it for me. So maybe one of y'all can say it out loud for me. What Candace just said right there, which was a complete direct statement to both Gary from Paramount Tactical and Nate from Valhalla, is great. You're finding all these things in his ex-wives and his sons and all these things that we don't care about. How about can you take some of that male energy and focus on the things that we care about? Can you do that? Thank you. I see y'all saying it. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, that was gangster. Because I agree with her.
The Charlie Kirk assassination, and no one has thus far done that. And he has not changed his story. So I am inclined to follow this, especially because we now know that Erica and Andrew Colbert and Brian Harpole do care enough to offer up, some parsed alibis of sorts.
But they didn't offer up, they didn't refute being there. I think is a very important point. Not
Right.
one of the people, including Congressman Amadei with his statement, actually directly said, I was not in Arizona or at Fort Huachuca at this time on this day. Not a single one of them have denied it.
Yeah, and I did. I don't know if you were on earlier when I said that, like, when Mitch first contacted me, he never said Mark Amodei. He gave a description of the man, and he said it was a congressman. And then I gave him, faces, and he was like, "This looks like the guy, like Mark Amodei." I think Mark Amodei is the only one that at least attempted to give an actual time frame that was relevant, and he gave the footage, and I do think it kind of looks like him. It's not definitive, but like it does kind of look like him that's sitting in the chair when someone gave me the time point. So I do want to be at least like he gave us something. You know what I mean? But regarding the two people that he contacted me about, Brian Hall and Erica, I find it strange that they went behind the scenes when they had a direct communication with me. Like, if you care enough, why wouldn't you just text me and I could shut it down immediately? Like, I don't.
We just lost your sound.
Thank you. Yeah, I think I'm still trying to understand like what Andrew Colbert is doing. I don't understand it. I don't understand what Andrew Colbert is doing. I really don't.
Well, obviously they care about the public perception of what's going on here, or they wouldn't give these half-hearted third-party alibis that don't really stand up under scrutiny, right? Because they do care about the perception. And the argument is, well, they don't owe you any answers. They don't owe you any answers. That's right. They don't owe us any answers. But also, they can deserve the scrutiny they get in return for not giving those answers, right? The suspicion that comes with that's part of not giving those answers. So it's a two-way exchange. Go ahead, Harrison. I see you trying to go ahead.
I totally agree with you on
Here's
that.
Harrison.
I do want to
Oh, never
let me
mind.
add this person, the speaker. We can do about like 10 more minutes here, because I think that we have covered all of the main points. And I think now everyone understands why this Fort Huachuca story suddenly matters, even though it was definitely not a focal point of this investigation. I do think that there is something here. I will tell you that, like, if I was to bet on it when I first had Mitch on the show, I was at 50-50 on whether or not he saw who he said he saw. Brian and Erica in particular, and Cabot Phillips as a third, which he felt, I think when I asked him a percentage on Cabot Phillips, he was like 90% sure or something.
Which, once again, for those of you that may be new to the channel, or maybe you're not new and you may not you weren't able to catch it, Cabot Phillips, I've done an entire video on him and Erica's history. You should go and check that video out. It's from maybe a week ago. Eric, I've just made so many videos about this that some of them kind of fall together, but they're all different videos with different information and different angles. Cabot Phillip is the one that had the picture of pizza, the tattoo of pizza on his lip. And we all know about Pizzagate. Why would you tattoo that on your lip? No one likes their food so much that they tattoo the word on the lip, or maybe they're the one that needs to be involuntarily submitted into a mental health institution. Why would you be tattooing the word pizza? I know why. If you've seen what's her name? The woman that accused Obama, accused Denzel Washington, accused P. Diddy prior to the conviction, the P. Diddy conviction, before all of that. What's her name? I want to look it up right here on my channel just so you all can see it. So that there's no confusion about it. Let's see. It is boom. Most popular. Her name is, let me find it for you all, because this is important. Where you at, girl? Where you at? Her Allie Carter. Allie Carter. Thank you, Allie. Yes, absolutely. Allie Carter. See, that's probably a day one. That's probably somebody that's been following the channel for a couple of years. Absolutely. So boom.
Now, like, I would probably put it at a lot higher, just based on the public reaction. It doesn't make sense to me, and Andrew Colbert is what tips me over the edge, I think. It makes no sense for him to go behind the scenes when he could just texted me and said, hey, I heard you covered this. Just wanted to give you this. Here's where Erica was, and so you could update people. That doesn't make sense to me. And I've heard that they are spending a lot of money on an anti-marketing campaign, if you will. I am trying to get receipts on that to see if that's true. And if that does pan out to be true, then I think we have our answer.
Wow.
I just added you, Suleiman. Did you want to say anything, or did you just want to listen?
Yeah, I did want to say something. Hopefully my mic is working. Can you hear me? Because
Yes.
I'm just in an Uber. Oh, brilliant. I guess my question is this, that when it comes to, by the way, I first of all appreciate the work you're doing. And also, I think one of my friends is on your team. But that being said, one of the questions I have is, in terms of Huachuca, how does someone prove the negative? And what I mean by that is, I can't always prove where I am at all times. So, for example, how do you prove that you're not somewhere if you don't somehow have some kind of photograph you take on the day?
That's a fair question.
How will they be able to disprove where they were? And the reason I ask that is because you can ask that about anyone. For example, Sam, I don't know where Sam was when Charlie Kirk got assassinated. So will he be able to prove it or not? We just don't know. So I guess the question is, how do you prove the negative?
Yeah, so I think the first thing is just answer, right? Hey, I was not here. That would be like a nice strong start. I'm Brian Harpole and I was definitively not there. The second thing is you would just be so surprised at how much your phone has. If you were there, then Brian Harpole would have had to have taken a flight to Fort Huachuca relatively early on the 8th or early on the 9th. I mean, he could, if he's awake at that time, this is supposed to be like a guy who's doing security. He's got to be up early. How quickly before you roll over in bed and text somebody about something, like whether it's like breakfast, whatever it is, you're texting, and that is creating a timeline of everything you're doing all day. Like if you asked me what I was doing today between, I don't know, 4 and 6, I could look through my phone and see who I was texting at that time, and we'd be texting about something relevant to what we were doing or where we were about to meet up. There are so many ways that I think you could show what you were doing, but I think the first thing would be just to answer.
Right, just to answer. But let me tell you all my theory as to why I believe that it is that Erica Kirk and Brian Harpole has not come out and definitively stated that they were not at these places, which anybody that's defending them should at the very least, in good faith, be side-eyeing them like that. Is a bit suspicious that you won't just deny that. Why won't you just deny that? Why won't you just definitively say, I wasn't there? You won't do that. And let me tell you my theory as to why I think that is. Because if there is some sort of footage, video footage, maybe a photo that was taken that maybe Candace Owens or somebody else is sitting on and waiting for you to say that you weren't there, and then they drop that video footage or that picture footage, maybe even from Mitch, and they're just holding on to it right now. They're keeping it close. And the moment that Erica or Brian comes out and says, we weren't there, you drop the photo. Because not only were you proven to be lying, not only were you actually there, now everybody's asking, why would you lie about that? Because like we've said, there could be a lot of reasons why Erica could have been there, being that her mother has history at the military. Maybe the reason isn't sinister. But if you lie about being there, now we believe it's a sinister reason. Because why would you lie? Bingo. That's my theory right now.
It's a pretty straightforward, I don't see the upside in Cabot Phillips not answering. There's been so much innuendo about him. People are talking about his pizza tattoo, I don't think the energy of Ben Shapiro, I've been wondering what that's about. And so when I saw when he said Cabot Phillips, I was like, whoa, that I did not expect that turn. Because I had sent him so many people that in Turning Point that I thought could have fit the description. Maybe it was someone on the security team, and he was like, no. And then with no context, he was like, Cabot Phillips was the guy. And I don't know. I find that to be interesting that he was off. Now Cabot could just very easily just be like, I was on vacation. That's 7 days, right? I mean, he was off air from the 4th until the 11th. And hey, he's got the wrong guy, wrong memory. And I'd be like, okay, cool. But that's a long time, right? That's a very long time that he could send us something or anything. So, yeah, I think there's a million ways, but it would start with just denying it, it would be very simple, especially because it's gotten so big. And I want to be able to do that for them. I want to debunk it. I want it to be off of people's minds. If Cabot was just with his family on vacation in Scotland, I want to be like, hey guys, Mitch we're looking for someone that looks like Cabot, you know what I mean? And so we can focus somewhere else. Or Erica has airtight, here's where she was, this is what she was doing. And there really are just there's just another blonde who was on the base that day. I think that would make a lot of people feel good if they just did that.
And Candace, if they hadn't already
So
weighed
it
in,
so it makes sense.
that would be one thing,
So
right?
it makes sense what you're saying in terms of if you were to provide a text, what you're proving is that you texted someone. But if you take, I mean, they're not going to give you evidence that they took a flight to Fort Huachuca. So I
No.
guess because if they did it or they didn't do it, they wouldn't provide it either way.
Yeah.
And I guess the reason I'm asking the question is I get the logic behind it. Like, first of all, the smart play would have been not to say anything. After he started giving evidence to that Green Beret, it
Yeah.
now becomes the onus is put on you. So I understand it. I'm on your side on that perspective.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, hypothetically speaking, let's take Erica Kirk as an example, right?
Mhm.
Let's say she wasn't there on September the 8th, but she
Mhm.
hasn't got any digital footprint. Yes, she can deny it. That's one thing. But like no one's gonna believe her, even if she was to deny it. So how do you actually provide evidence that you weren't there? Other because if you text someone, that's not evidence because you could text from the place or from some other place. It's actually having like some kind of digital footprint
Yeah. So
somewhere
a
else at the
perfect
exact same time.
example because they did. Like you might not have been on earlier, but I reached out to Turning Point again because, like I said, I'm not interested in chasing rabbits. That like I want to actually know what's real and what's not. Yes, Sunday. What's today? On Sunday. I think around 1 o'clock p.m. I got on the phone with them. I reached out on Sunday. Sorry, on Saturday. Got on the phone with them sometime after mass on Saturday. I mean, on Sunday, pardon. And they were like, hey, like, yeah, she was like making dinner with like organizing or making dinner with Charlie. Like, we're going to send you a message of like between her and Charlie speaking. And I was like, great, amazing. I will literally update Twitter right now and say, like, Erica was making dinner with Charlie. And they send me a message, but the contact was blacked out. So I went back, obviously, and I was like, hey, like, the contact's blacked out. Like, this could be a message between like me and George for all I know. And I was like, do you just mind like just sending, like, I know Charlie's number, obviously. So just like, show me the contact. And they were like, oh, we blocked it out because it's like a pet, I don't know, like a nickname that she has for Charlie or whatever. And she just didn't want you to see it. And I was like, okay, well, you can just like change the contact name and just send me like, just send me a video of you opening it so I can see Charlie's number and tell my audience like this is confidently a text chain between Charlie and Erica. And then they just said, look, it's Sunday. I think it was like 1 o'clock or something. And she's busy with the kids, but we'll get you that. And so I waited. It's now been obviously more than 24 hours. It's been like 30. That was yesterday at 1 p.m. Now it's 9 p.m. on Monday, and they haven't sent it to me, like just the number so I could see that it was Charlie, but I'm waiting. But there's a perfect example of how they could just easily show it. So I'm waiting for that. And if I get it, I will clarify to people that she was making dinner. And I also said to them, like, I don't need to show people the message either. So like, don't worry about like his like whatever you call him getting out there. Like I'm happy to just like see it, and I think my audience trusts me enough that I would just say I saw it. So I'm still waiting for it. But that's a perfect example of how it could be done.
Weird, absolutely weird. It's probably another 2 minutes left in this live. I'm gonna go to the bathroom and then I'm gonna get to some of you all super chats. So give me 1 sec. righty. All righty, man. Let's pretty sure that was pretty much the end of it. Probably had like another 2-3 minutes left. And that's just her just wrapping it up. And so yeah, man, that's Candace Owens' live on X yesterday. Again, like I said at the very beginning, I think it's very a very honorable thing to do, especially coming from a woman. And what I mean by that is women are typically more emotional. We know Candace is a bit different in that regard, because I know men that will be way more emotional having conversations with people that disagree with them. And I think she handled it well. And Harrison's behavior is just odd. It's just odd behavior, you know. So let's get to some super chats, man. Thank you so much for the $2 super chat. The devil is a lie. Holy Spirit, help Didi. We thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you so much for the $10 super chat. Blake Neff was in the chat last night. He wrote, I wondered if they will notice I am here. Weird. If that's true, like, that's just weird, bro. Weird. Thank you, Laura, for the $10 super chat. Thank you, Didi, for supporting Reporting the Truth. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for noticing. Thank you for having common sense. Thank you for being a normal human being in 2025 when it seems that that's becoming less and less. Like we've evolved into a world, or maybe devolved into a world where we don't even know how to define a woman anymore. And you're considered a hateful person if you don't acknowledge somebody about what they feel on the inside. We stepped into a world where you can say the world has become so radical that I may consider voting for Trump. And even though you may have supported Trump, you're noticing the hypocrisies coming from Trump, the things that he's doing that it goes directly against the things that he campaigned and ran on, the things that he's failing to do. And now the world is telling you, no, you supported Trump, therefore you can't call him out. That is a world that's devolving, bro. All these radical, extreme stances that people that want you to take. No. So thank you for supporting not only truth, or a person that supports truth, because as we say, truth is a person, truth is Jesus Christ, truth is God, right? By default. But supporting what I would call what's considered normal, bro. Things are nuanced, and you're going to have to pivot as you see them, you know, but I digress. Thank you so much for the super sticker, Miss Elaine. As always, good to see you. Let's see here. DEH25. Thank you so much for the $20 super chat. Praying for you and your fiance. Thank you for speaking truth and asking questions. Keep speaking as God leads. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. My fiance is doing well. We're already looking at venues for our wedding that we're planning next year. Super excited. Hopefully, if the Lord said the same, I would like to be a parent. I would like to be a first-time father by 2027. We plan to hit the ground running, you know, so just pray for us. As I always say, that's what I've been saying from the jump. Just pray for us. You know, relationships are not easy. Marriage, I won't imagine, will be easy. But we've known each other for 8 years. We've known each other for a long time, and I love her. And I'm at that stage in my life, man, where I'm ready. You know, it's a big leap because I do this YouTube thing full time. You just don't know what it's going to look like month to month, from an income perspective, from a support perspective, views, especially when you talk about the things that I talk about on this channel. Your videos get shadow banned, so maybe you'll do decent views on one video, and the next 15 videos you may not. You just never know. But I have faith, you know, and I'm just ready, you know. So thank you. Let's see. Abdullah, thank you so much for the $15 super chat. Why was Tom Artyom Alexandrovich allowed to return home after being arrested in the U.S. for a child? I don't know. That's a great point. And for those of you that don't know, I believe that's a person that has ties to Israel. Am I right about that? I think that's a person that, but a lot of people like that. I believe that's a rule in Israel. They can get expedited back to their city. Why don't the people that support that country find that to be weird? And why aren't you protesting against that? Criminals are criminals, you know? If I got this person correctly. Dre Latina, thank you so much for the $100 super chat. I don't get too many of those, man. That means a lot. Normally it's I got Mitch that's giving them to me. Not Will, I said Mitch. That's funny. That's so funny. I called him Mitch. I have been watching your non-Charlie podcast, and they are outstanding. Thanks for being a voice of reason and critical thinking through the lens of faith. Thank you so much. I'm curious. I know this has been a much longer live than I typically do. I'm curious if you have seen what I typically I got about 4 videos that I typically refer people to if they're new to the channel. It's the Martin Luther King documentary. And for those of you that don't know, there is a bonus edition of the Martin Luther King documentary on Patreon. For all paid Patreon members, you do have access to it. I dropped it about a month ago. And there's an additional, the original documentary that's on this channel on YouTube. It's about 2 hours long. It's like an hour and 55 minutes. But the bonus edition, or the editor's cut, if you will, is like an additional hour. And it's worth it. It's worth every bit of it. It's on Patreon. But yeah, I would recommend on the YouTube channel, check out the Martin Luther King documentary, the Michael Jackson video, the XXXTentacion video, the Clive Davis video. And what's one I really never speak about, but oh yeah, the Donald Trump Dark Magician video. I would highly recommend that one for sure. You know, because even if you don't agree with some, I have people to say, I don't always agree with you on every topic, Didi, but I love your thinking. I love your style. I love your videos. And my response is always, thank you. I appreciate it. I mean that genuinely. But you're not going to agree with any human being on all topics, right? So that's a given. You know, you're never going to meet a human you agree with on all topics. So that's not even needed to be said, to be honest. If Tom Alexandrovich is allowed to walk free, it will set a dangerous precedent that encourages other predators to travel abroad to exploit you. Yeah, I agree. Well, I'm going to say this on YouTube. I'm going to frame it this way on YouTube. Look forward to it. Whether it be Alexandrovich or someone else, but look forward to it. Tom will not be the first and he will not be the last. All right. Up with BM. Thank you so much for the $2 super chat. Yes, Didi, we're hiring rain, sleet, snow. Let's see. All right. That's funny. Thank you so much, Melissa, for the $50 super chat. Thank you so much. You're growing as a podcaster. Keep up the great work. Wishing you much success in the new year. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'm growing only thanks to you all. You all support me. You tune in, and I rely on your support. Absolutely. You know. So thank you so much for the super chat, big time Melissa. You are a big supporter. Let's see. Is it Sheba? Noel, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. This makes me wonder about times innocent people were charged with crimes, were covered for those who were probably known to have actually done it. I'm willing to bet, Sheba, that has happened quite a bit, or they would allow someone to get indicted just so they can get a pardon later. You know, so that's my perspective. Thank you so much for the $5 super chat, Mouth of the South. The recreation of the Pow Pow scene at AmFest for people to take selfies with, they make themselves look terrible. Candace just points this crap out. Exactly. Which is why I say at this point, I believe they're trolling us. I don't even think they're trying to hide some of this stuff anymore. In fact, I think they're trying to force some of the people that still currently support them. I think they're trying to force some of those people away on purpose. You say, why would they be doing that? Because I think they're supposed to tell us an extent of what they believe in, right? The rituals that they believe in. I do believe that. Thank you so much for the $2 super chat, Grape Seed. Ian was a Nick stan into Charlie's atrocity. I believe that he still is to an extent. I think him and Nick just having a falling out, but even in that back and forth, Ian Carroll just comes off as like a super passive aggressive, polite person that even when he's having a back and forth with a person like Nick Fuentes, especially somebody that they typically agree with on the topic of Israel, Nick just gives the impression that regardless of how disrespectful Nick Fuentes gets, Ian is always open to it being mended and the relationship being salvaged. You see what I'm saying? The scriptures call for you to forgive. I don't know if Ian Carroll is a Christian or not, or a follower of Christ or not, but I would say if it were me, I'm just a bit more direct. If you're going to be over there, you stand over there, right? So, the Hood, the scholar, T Hood, the scholar. Thank you so much for the $20 super chat. Infuriating. Is InfoWars somehow more concerned to this, connected to this story, even before 9/10, because their obsession with TPUSA Fed slop narrative is starting to get out of hand. Jones looks like he's about to have a yes. It's weird because he's like yelling at the top of his lungs. His voice is already. I was speaking earlier about how really easy it is to listen to certain content creators like Ryan Mata. AJ does not fall on that list, and I think most people would agree. His voice is like, it just sounds like he needs to drink some water and swallow. It sounds like he needs to drink water and swallow a few times to provide some sort of moisture to his throat. But for him to be yelling and screaming and red in the face it's unbearable to watch, especially when he of all people calling somebody a Fed is crazy. Thank you so much, Veronica, for the $2 super chat. Not gonna lie, I love the move out of the way, bro. Right, for sure. And I feel that way about any of them, and I'll tell that to them. I'll tell that to them. Maybe not so much to their face because these are Green Berets that we're talking about, the ex-military, but I will tell them that face to face across the computer. Right? I stand on that. Like if that's somebody else's investigation, you don't have to watch Candace. Watch somebody else. Do your own investigation. Cover other topics. But don't insert yourself into somebody else's investigation and tell them what they should or should not be doing. And then even worse, giving them ultimatums. Like, come on, dog. Come on, dog. Just move out the way, bro. Scram. Veronica, thank you so much for the follow super chat. I don't know what Harrison is confused about. I understand everything Candace is talking about. Please not. Yeah. Like, it's only him. He's like, yeah, but I still don't understand, like, what's the purpose of this and where it goes. And let's say that this is true. What does it mean now? And what does this lead to? And you really shouldn't be talking about this. It's like, all right, bro, you're making my brain twitch. Maybe I get some merch that says, don't make my brain twitch. And it's going to be for all these people that go against the Fed. So, I mean, all these people that seem to be playing both sides or riding the fence. It's like, where are you at on this, bro? Did you really find out that Charlie Kirk is alive and that's why? Like, what's going on here? Funny I say that because here's the next super chat. Thank you so much, Lindsay, for the $5 super chat. I believe CK is alive. However, why would he agree to this? Wouldn't that mean he's an active participant? He believes in JC, no kids, EK demonic. It is odd, and there are reasons to believe that he really was unalived, but there's also reason to believe that he wasn't, and that it was staged. And I've spoken about this before as to why I believe that he would have motive to do it. And I think that things was just getting more and more serious with the people that was funding his organization. I think with this war that's taking place in the Middle East and the position and the role that he's plays, because remember, as a CEO of TPUSA, that Erica Kirk is now in the position of, you can influence wars. You really can. You can influence foreign policy in this country. You can influence elections in that position. Don't underestimate them, bro. You can play a role, or I should say, you could play a role in the way in which people feel about elections and foreign policy, right? And I word it that way to say that for those of us that believe that presidents are selected and not elected, then that would be able to cover all bases. But yeah, if you feel like they'll take you out, if you remove yourself from the equation, they can't take you out if you remove yourself. So now somebody else can fill that position and continue to be pro-Israel. Allegedly. Upple BM, thank you so much for the follow super chat. By Morgan's logic, everyone is saying don't believe Mitch or Candace. TPUSA did nothing wrong, so why is she on Candace's side? Yeah, faking gay. Yeah, why? It's like, yeah, I'm with you, Morgan, but you can't say you're coming from a biblical perspective, but also call the man a nobody and saying that people don't have good reason to lie on him because he's a nobody. Come on, man. Come on. I'm not saying be perfect, but followers of Christ, you You shouldn't be speaking like that about other humans. Shady Logos, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. There is an overabundance of video evidence that the Fed narrative is bull. Doodle, exactly. But you got people in the comment section, what evidence has been presented? No. The burden is not even on us. Let's look at what the Fed has presented. Or as Cash Patel would say, the FBI is not, the federal FBI is not playing a role. This is more state. Okay, cool. What have they told us and what have they presented? Are we able to debunk it? Yes. We've been able to debunk several things that they've told us. Several things that they've told us have not made sense. That's the burden of proof that we are. That's all the burden of proof we need. Thank you so much for the $20 super chat, Renee. Weird. Yes, we are talking about unaliving someone. This is serious. We lost a great man. These people should be interrogated by the police or offer up a lie detector for us if they can't show up physical proof. You know what's funny? Show us physical proof. That's funny. I've thought about the lie detector test angle. And I just wonder if that's going to be brought up at some point, because this trial, we think things are interesting now. Let's wait till this trial take place. That's when things are going to really amp up, because regardless of how the verdict comes out on the other side, it's going to cause a lot of chaos. Because if they prove that Tyler Robinson did this, there's going to be so many questions. If he beats it, obviously, it's going to be even more questions. You know? Thank you so much for the $6 super chat. The beautiful people. EHV. Ian is okay. He covered her show when she was on maternity leave. I'm aware. He calls out people on the show. I think he didn't want to do it on Candace's live. I like Ian. I watch his show, and I'm aware that he hosted Candace's show while she was out. But I will say, however, he calls people out. But Ian, again, like I've said before, and this is no knock, this is no diss to Ian Carroll. I just think because he know a lot of these people, he has relationship and he interacts and speaks and communicates with them, and I don't. It's a lot easier for me to directly go after these people. I don't think he would go after Valhalla or some of these other people. And when I say go after, I don't mean like bash them. I just mean like call them out for inconsistencies. Call them out for things that don't make sense. You know? The whole reason we're doing this is because Tyler clearly didn't do it. That's the baseline of truth everyone should be standing on, period. See, these are the people I like. Common sense. Common sense that because somebody's going to probably clip this. I'm not saying it's common sense that Tyler Robinson did not do this. I'm saying it's common sense that the story that they're giving us about Tyler Robinson being on the roof, doing it by himself, pow-powing Charlie Kirk in the neck on the first trial with a 30-6 from that degree, with all the other surrounding things that was happening, figuratively and literally in Charlie Kirk, around Charlie Kirk, it's common sense that they're lying. Allegedly. All right? So that's what I'm standing on. And as you would say, period. Kat, thank you so much for the $20 super chat. I appreciate it. When did asking a question become wrong is my question. Right. Right. When did asking a question become wrong is my question. Exactly. It's always wrong when there's something to hide. That's a tactic that they use. Nothing else to see here. Stop asking questions. It's like when you're a kid and you're suspicious about something. Let's say, for example, let's say you're 7 years old, you're 8 years old, you're 9 years old, something, and you're wondering where do children come from, and you're asking your parents. They're going to tell you, stop asking questions. No more questions. When you start asking questions like that and you're too young for them to tell you, you know, it reminds me of that. It's like, because there's something to hide. There's something you don't want to tell me. Now, when I'm 15 years old, maybe as young as 14, 13, then you'll tell me where children come from. Shoot, by then I probably figured it out on my own. Aaron, thank you so much for the $10 super chat. You're totally an INTP personality type. Not following. Takes one to know one. That's why I'm saying this. We need for things to make logical sense. Absolutely. Illogical people are frustrating. I get it right. You and I align, my brother or my sister. We align 100%. Truman Show. That's a very interesting name, right? Thank you so much for the $10 super chat. Didi Erica was sent in by her side of the family, which has been found out she is related to the Rothschilds to have his kids deter his attention and ultimately steal his legacy. Has it been proven that she's related to the Rothschilds? Somebody's gonna have to send that to me, because if so, that's crazy. Which reminds me, follow me on Instagram and Twitter or X. Link is in the description to my other social media, so I can have other way to reach you all and get in contact with you all. Truman Show, once again, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. When Erica let Ben Shapiro, Charlie's nemesis, on that stage, that put the nail in the coffin for her and her reasons for me. The same thing I said. I mean, it was I was already off the quote unquote Erica Kirk boat, if you will, well before that point. But I will say that that's more reason. Like, why would you have that man on that stage? Don't tell me you're just being nice. There's no amount of money he should be able to pay to get on that stage, especially after all the money that they just made. All right. Ultimately, if my husband was pow the way he was, you would definitely see me have more than exactly 5 tears the whole time come down my face. Right. That's what you would call a normal reaction. What you're describing, not what we've been seeing. So this is a as they would say, a safe space for all of us to say we're not crazy, because all of us collectively can come together and say, okay, we're not crazy. What they're showing us is crazy. What they're showing us don't make sense. What they're telling us don't add up. Yep. We're all on the same page. Yeah. I think you put this in, Latina. Thank you for the $10 super chat. When it was revealed that Charlie Kirk may have found millions of dollars missing, I think that's when you put that in. I think I saw that one when it came in. Thank you so much for the $10 super sticker. Honestly, me Thompson. Let's see. In defense of Andrew, an offense against Andrew, he's not texting investigator Candace. Some BS lie. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Nate Lord, is it? Thank you so much for the $5 super chat. Someone so amazingly concerned about someone else's past should have zero allegations against them. VFT's past must be squeaky clean, for example. Right. It must be. Must be, because the person he was sitting across from, I believe his name is JD. From my understanding, his past isn't, which made everything crazier. To identify BS, ask yourself, is this performance or is it informance? You getting deep with us, man. It's like, do you understand or do you understand? Is there a reason that the hotel security cameras are not in question? Right. Same way I'm asking about the footage on the campus. Why don't we have the footage that's on the campus? You know what I'm saying? We should have been seeing that a long time ago. Don't tell me that that's going to hurt the investigation. No, it's not. If anything, it makes your conviction that much easier. If you show absolute proof that Tyler Robinson did this, he has no defense. They resort to a plea deal. And that's not what's happening. Thank you so much for the $20 super chat. Thank you for standing for truth, and may the Most High protection and blessings on your marriage. Please don't ever sell out, because I will call you out. Absolutely, I will never sell. I will never sell out by the grace of God. And if I ever do, y'all hold me accountable. But that'll never happen. It just won't. Like, I'm so grateful for the small things in life. Y'all don't understand. Like, I don't get too high on money and materialistic things and all of that sort. You know, I want a house. I want a family. I want to serve God. I want to make God proud. I'm a wretched sinner. I fall short every day. I'm going to sin today. I think about sinning. You know, I'm working on it. You know, my goal is to have a family. That's always been my number one goal since I was a kid. More than anything else. I wanted to be an archaeologist when I was a kid. But you know what I wanted more than that? I wanted a family. I knew it when I was a kid. So I live for that, right? And I just would like to become a more God-fearing man and live like it and not just say it on the internet, you know? All right, that was the last super chat. Now I'm going to read a couple of you all's regular comments, and then I will go ahead and jump off of here. You're going to be an awesome father, man. Thank you so much. I appreciate that, man. I think I'll be an awesome father as well, but We'll see. Erica is suspect, involved or not. She needs investigation. As I've said before, the spouse is always the number one suspect until you can rule them out. Why is this any exception? It's not. You're not going to gaslight us into believing otherwise. It's not. I'm a registered soldier of God. I like that. I like that. Did you have to wait till you was 18 to register? Absolutely. All righty. All right, I'm going to read 5 regular comments, and then we're going to call this a night. So I can get to this Jake Paul and Joshua Anthony video, or Anthony Joshua video. 2 first names always throw me off. You get the best culture money can buy. No crime scene containment, no real investigation, no coroner report, no funeral, no burial site, fake body in the casket. Charlie is alive. If you don't believe it, it's because you don't want to. No red liquid. No red liquid leaking to the car. Where's the autopsy? Apparently, the man is not even buried yet. It's like, what? Okay. Just don't call us crazy for entertaining the possibility that this man is alive. The question is, does Candace know? If he's alive, does Candace know? Right? I'm a new listener, and I'm very impressed. Thank you for all the work you do. I support Candace. Absolutely. Kelly, thank you for being here. Hope you subscribed. Hope you hit the notification bell. There's a lot of content on the channel outside of the Charlie Kirk, TPUSA, Candace Owens, Erica Kirk stuff. There's a lot of content on here. I think you all will enjoy it. Because I'm a what do you call it? I almost said pansexual. That would have been wild. I'm a sapiosexual. I believe that's what it is. I'm attracted to intelligence. You know what I mean? So a lot of you all give me sapiosexual vibes. I think you all like common sense. I think you all like intellect. I think you all like, analyzing things and breaking it down. That's why all these guys were dressed the same. Security detail unalived him. It's so sad. I don't know that to be a fact. Yes, thank you. So disrespectful to Charlie Kirk. Let's see. Do you have the video of the congressman? I'm not on X. I don't have the video of the congressman. Maybe in my next live, if I can remember, I can present that to you all. Or maybe I can present it to you on, what is it called? Discord. Maybe I can share the video on Discord, the picture on Discord. Because I've shared it in another video already. If you're not on Discord, I have it listed. I have the link listed on my Patreon for all members. You don't have to pay for it. For free members as well, I'm pretty sure. Forgive me if I'm wrong about that. I think Ben Shapiro might know about Erica in Cabot's meetups. He looked like the type to blackmail. I agree. He looks like the type to blackmail as well. I agree. 100%. All righty. Let's see here. Even versus even. Let's be honest. Ivan versus Ivan. Let's be honest. For the love of money, people will steal from their mother. For the love of money, people will rob their own brother. For the love of money, people don't care who they hurt or beat. I agree with you. And notice what this brother, I believe it's a brother, maybe sister, said. For the love of money, because the money is not the root of all evil. It's the love of money that is the root of all evil. And once again, the scriptures are right. Spot on about that, right? Happens all the time. Upper BM, thank you so much for the follow super chat. Didi, did you see my chat about Harpo being Erica security? Let me go back up. Maybe I missed it. Where you at? Maybe I didn't see it. But I don't. What do you mean by being his security? I mean, he was the security for Turning Point. Do you mean like he was her security doing another time or something? Dr. Hollow, thank you so much for the $10 super chat. Hi, Didi, great podcast. Did you hear the apparent Freudian slip of Nicki Minaj on the Amfest stage with Erica, Assassin JD Vance? Thank you so much for your support. I did hear that. I'm just not under the belief that it was a slip. I don't think it was a Freudian slip. Maybe it could have been. Because she has, I think, Jamaican roots or Caribbean roots or something to that extent, and they use the word assassin interchangeably to refer to men who are smooth with the ladies, And that would have been interesting to be using that slang when talking to Erica because of the history, the short history, and the noise around her and JD Vance. But it's also odd. I covered yesterday. If you all have not seen my video from yesterday, I dropped a video of the song that JD Vance walked out to. It's a song called the Cool Woman in the Long Black Dress, or The Long Cool Woman in the Black Dress, by the Hollies, who are Freemasonic puppets as well. I can show you the pictures of them on the checkerboard floor. And let me show you all that in real time, actually. Let's see. The Hollies. Boom, bingo. With the Freemasonic checkerboard flooring right there. And I guarantee you, if I look, they probably got one-eye symbolism photos as well. So I do believe that they were under the programming, allegedly. But yes, so there's a song that he walked out to by the Hollies, called "The Long Cool Woman in the Black Dress," and the lyrics mention a Charlie. It mentions this woman that this man is completely infatuated by. It mentions a murder. It mentions all those things. Why would JD Vance walk out to that song? Go and check it out. It's a video from yesterday, if you haven't seen it yet. Yeah. So, all right, y'all. That'll do it. This is much longer than I typically do, but almost 4,000 of you tuned in most of the time. I appreciate y'all. Love y'all, man. Hit the like button, as always. That really supports me and really helps push the video out into the algorithm. The link to the Patreon, link to the merch is in the description if you want to support me. Hopefully someday I'll have a book out where you all can support me that way as well. All right, man. My stomach is growling. My throat is dry. I don't want to start sounding like AJ. So I'm gonna go ahead and log out of here, man. Y'all be safe, and I'll catch y'all the next one. Peace.
Oh yeah, Didi got a podcast.
Attitudes and our work ethic become very important in realizing our goals and opening up possibilities. I had lunch a couple of weeks ago with a recent graduate at UCA. And his story is really fascinating. It's one of overcoming homelessness during his time pursuing his degree, first at a community college here in Arkansas, and then finishing his bachelor's degree here at UCA. His narrative ranges from estrangement from family for many years to a hopeful reunion with mother and siblings. His record is one of overcoming odds in a way that I probably could not, and certainly demonstrating levels of tenacity and patience and optimism that I can only marvel at. He wanted to talk with me about his new job and his career path going forward. I really need to be there to learn from him because that's where the real value was.
Everything I say in this video is alleged. Allegedly.
No such thing as a life that's better than yours. Y'all can just repeat after me. I really appreciate it. Alright. No such thing. Come on, we can do better than that. Talk to me. Alright, let's start it over. No such thing as a life that's better than yours.
You're worse than the rich white people who are, or the rich white Jews that own these record labels, because they don't even understand these populations. You have a lot closer relationship to these people, and you're leading them to hellfire. You are leading them in the wrong direction in the name of getting rich and famous. How dare you?
Oh yeah, Didi got a podcast.